We will call the regularly scheduled meeting of the Plaquemines Parish Council as the sole governing authority of the Plaquemines Port Harbor Terminal District for April the 23rd at 1 o'clock to order. The machine is open for roll call.
Still on vacation? I'm still on vacation.
You got it, Kirk? Let the record reflect that all council members are present. Then Mr. Cormier is present, representing the President's Office and Administration, and that our port director and his staff are as well. This time we'll ask Mr. Lapine to lead us in the prayer, followed by the pledge led by Mr. Black.
We take this moment to acknowledge Almighty God and thank Him for our bountiful blessings, especially for this parish's natural resources. We give thanks to God for our brave and courageous men and women in our military who daily risk their lives to protect our precious freedom, and we pray for our world leaders to know how to obtain world peace. We also pray that this government body, comprised of both council and administration, will always serve our parish with honesty, humility, and equality to all. And as this government body gathers here today, we pray for the wisdom to know right from wrong and the courage to do what is right. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all. At this time, we will move to item number 3, status report by the Executive Director. There's no executive sessions today. Let the reflect that.
Good afternoon, Mr. President, Mr. Chairman, and members of the board. I am Sandy Sanders, Executive Director of Plaquemines Port Harbor and Terminal District. What follows is my Executive Director report for the reporting period of 10 through 23 April. There's been a lot of activity during this period, but the predominance of that activity is covered by non-disclosure documents. I know the board is familiar with this, but to our public, I would just like you to know that a little bit regarding these non-disclosure agreements. There are signed agreements that parties to a project sign forbidding the disclosure of any material to that project until that project can be looked at by both parties to see if it is obviously economically feasible. Does it fit with the mission of the parish and our community as far as being environmentally sound? And then once that is okayed and we agree to go into this, then it will be full public disclosure. And we are presently looking at some projects right now that could potentially end up on our shores, but again, they are covered by non-disclosure agreements until we're ready to go. As I stated, this is a short report, subject to your questions, Mr. Chairman, of the board, or to the public. This concludes my report.
Thank you. Any comments or questions from the members, from the public? If not, we'll move on to bids and advertisements. Are there any today? There'll be none. We'll move to item number 5, introductions of ordinances and resolutions. Councilmember Thalamy.
All right.
Councilman Black.
Yes, one. An ordinance to amend and as amended, readopt ordinance number 06-112, section 5-70, unreasonable disturbance by barking dogs and otherwise with respect thereto. That's all.
We're going to defer that to the...
Was he talking about my report?
Different things, yeah.
Was that my report you were referring to?
Barking dogs, yes. Please note that on for record. I have none for the port.
Councilmember Lapine.
I have none.
I have 2. A resolution authorizing Maynard Sandy Sanders as Executive Director of the Plaquemines Port Harbor Terminal District to extend the agreement with the Arlington Ridge Group, LLC for consulting and advisory services regarding inter alia government representation at the state and federal level and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. And the second one I have is a resolution authorizing Maynard Sanders as Executive Director, Plaquemines Port Harbor Terminal District, to amend the contract for professional services between the Plaquemines Port Harbor Terminal District and the law firm of Dwyer, Cambry, and Suffolk, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. Councilman Burke?
I have none, Mr. Chairman.
Ms. Alvon?
I have none.
I have none, sir.
And I have none.
Okay, thank you. This time we'll move to item 6A.
An ordinance authorizing the Plaquemines Parish Port Harbor and Terminal District to accept a donation towards the port's portion of the Louisiana Economic Development Site Certification cost and to amend the General Fund 2015 operating revenue and expenditure budgets and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
At this time, I'll offer and ask for a second.
I'll second.
Second by Councilmember Burt. For a brief explanation of this, this is something that, would you like to explain this, or you want us to? Site certification?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Site Certification Program is a program by the Louisiana Economic Development. It's a state program, and it is an initiative that the state has where your site is certified, qualified, what is called Phase 1 engineering. By having this Phase 1 engineering stamp of approval on this site, there are folks that are situated on a global basis that are actively advertising potential sites in the state of Louisiana that can accommodate interested foreign investment that may want to move to our shores. So the first thing that we have to do, obviously, is get those functions, those engineering functions done and get our site with that stamp of approval, so it allows those guys enough Play-Doh that when an opportunity does present itself, they can say that your project can aptly be put on our shores. We have the acreage you need, the waterfront that you may need. So it's just a pre-qualification allowing global folks to market our sites.
Thank you. And what this particular ordinance does, it accepts a $2,500 donation from PABI, who, when the documents first came through, had some language in there concerning people willing in other areas to match some of the funding that the locals put up. And so PABI was requested by the port to participate, and they stepped up with $2,500. So this will be going towards our portion of the 25%. Are there any other comments or discussion or questions on the item? Hearing none, machine is open. And the ordinance is adopted 9-0. We'll move to item B.
A resolution authorizing Maynard Sandy Sanders as Executive Director of the Plaquemines Port Harbor and Terminal District to enter into a memorandum of agreement with the Louisiana Economic Development for the Site Certification Program in regards to the property obtained for port development, otherwise provide with respect thereto.
I'll offer and ask for a second. Second by Councilmember Juneau. This is the ordinance that's companion to the one that we just adopted that the Executive Director explained just now as far as the process. So at this time, are there any comments or questions on the resolution? Mr. Henry.
Yes. Once we get on this list, Colonel, could you tell us where we at on this list? Is we at the top, we in the middle, or bottom, or where we at on this list?
Once we get added to this list, when a request from as an example, let's say from India, that they need deep waterfront, they need 300 acres, is the soil suitable for what their project? Then this fellow can go down this list and say, I've got 3 sites. One's in Plaquemines, one's up by Baton Rouge, one is over by Lake Charles. So it just puts us on that list that we're being available to these folks that come on a national or global basis that need a site for a project. So are we on that list? We're working our way to get on that list. And how close we are at the top would be the type of project that is needed. And again, they might have 4 projects, and they might want to go check all 4 of them out. But we wouldn't even be one of those 4 unless we're at least on that list.
And I'm glad you explained that to the public. I'm with you on that. The public need to know, man. You can't keep a lot of things. Let the public know, Speak up about it. Thank you.
Thank you for your questions, Mr. Henry. You help us keep the public informed.
I don't want to do it.
We do want to do it.
The cost,
You only want to talk. Everybody else is there.
what is the cost for it to the port?
You want to answer?
The cost will be a derivative of how much the site is. Obviously, the more acreage, the more costly it would be. The LED program funds 75% of that cost. The port picks up 25%, and then the donation from PABI would, our portion would be offset by $2,500.
And the actual ordinance caps that at $25,000. Any further comments or discussion on the item? Thank you. The machine is open. And the resolution is adopted 9-0. We will move to 7, new business. Having none at this time, we will move to item 8A.
A resolution ratifying the actions of Maynard Sandy Sanders, Executive Director of the Plaquemines Port Harbor Terminal District, relative to his execution of a non-disclosure agreement and term agreement, and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
At this time, I'm seeking a suspension of the rules for that item to take up to today's agenda. Are there any objections to suspending the rules to consider that item today? No objections. At this time, I will offer the resolution. Well, let me ask you to suspend the rules with a resolution, if you don't mind. Machine is open on the suspension of resolutions. I'll offer, and Councilman Juneau will second. And the rules stand suspended for that item. At this time, I'll offer the resolution and ask for a second.
I'll second.
Seconded by Councilmember Burt. Any comments or discussion on the item? Hearing none, machine is open. And the resolution is adopted 9-0. Thank you. We'll move now to item 9, approval of the minutes of the 2015 meeting. Do I have someone offer the minutes? Councilmember Juneau offers and Councilmember Edgecombe seconds. Any comments or discussion on the minutes or the adoption of the minutes? Hearing none, the machine is open. And the minutes are adopted 9-0. Any further business to come before the Port Harbor Terminal District at today's meeting?
Yes, I do.
Councilmember Black.
I just want to apologize to the rest of our council members and the public, but I do want to point out one of the reasons why we're having this kind of shuffling back here is this is the first day, and I'm really proud to point out my assistant, General Bowles, and Stephanie Miller for helping myself and Councilmember Burt try to go paperless at these council meetings. So we're trying out these new Surface Pros, and I know our council secretary helped out as well. So bear with us. With progress comes pain. So I apologize for the disturbance, but we're moving forward. Thanks.
Thank you. Any further comments or discussion? Hearing none, at this time I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Councilman Lapine moves. I'll second. Machine is open on the adjournment. And the meeting is adjourned at 1:15 by 9-0. Thank you very much. At this time. Okay. At this time, I'll call the regularly scheduled meeting of the Plaquemines Parish Council for April the 23rd to order at 1:15. The machine is open for roll call. Let the record reflect that all members are present. Parish President Cormier is here with his directors as well. At this time, we will skip the executive session till later in the meeting and move to proclamations. B1.
A proclamation proclaiming the month of April 2015 as Fair Housing Month in the parish of Plaquemines.
I'll ask for a second. Second by Councilmember Juneau. Anyone here from the Fair Housing Month effort? No one's coming, so we will have no one in attendance. Is there any comments or questions on the proclamation? Hearing none, the machine is open. And the proclamation is adopted 9-0. This time we'll move to item C, status report by the parish president.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm proud to announce the administration. We have become the first parish in the state of Louisiana to be accepted in the Restore Act for the MIP plan. It's quite a compliment to the parish and the people. We started on it in February. The other item is the Senate Bill 177 that's in the legislature at present. And you need to get involved with this, the residents of the parish, to call your legislative representatives to make sure that this bill does not pass. At the present time, to give you a historical background on it, we have 87 corporations in the state of Louisiana. In the last several years, what they've done is given so many tax breaks that it has run up to about $1.4 billion in tax breaks. Of the 87 corporations, only 22 corporations paid taxes. As a result of that, the state is in a bind looking for money, and so they're trying to get this inventory tax away from local government. And that, if that takes place, then the parish would lose about $4 million. The school board would lose $7 million. The sheriff would lose $5 million. And a couple other entities in the government would lose approximately $1 million, totaling $20 million, right at $20 million. So it's imperative, as you know, with the financial constraints that we're under right now, that this bill does not pass in the legislature. Having said that, Mr. Chairman, that concludes my report.
Any comments or discussion on the parish president's report?
Actually, if you will, Mr. Chair.
Councilman Edgecombe?
Coach, on the redistricting that we had to go through, the geographical bonds, how they've changed with the district numbers, how, if you have any suggestions, actually I've talked to a couple of my colleagues about it, kind of briefly, how are we going to determine, or we have to, whatever idea you might have as far as seeing what money's in whose district now and to put it back in the proper place. Because I know in the district that I represent now, there's 3 other districts that it goes through them. It's kind of like trying to shuffle some money around.
Yes, what we'll do with the, I'll assign Director of Administration, Mr. Ed Terrio, to get with the council and to try and work out those particular problems.
Any further comments or discussion on the Councilmember Juneau?
President Cormier, who can the people write to? What legislature is pushing this?
The legislator is a senator from the Benton area, northwest Louisiana. His name is Adley. And surprisingly enough, with the cuts that would take place in higher education for one thing, his wife is on the board with LSU. So there must be a conflict there between the two of them.
Okay, thank you.
Along those lines, I would encourage you to contact Representative Leopold and Senator Heitmeyer and Senator Crow and Representative Garofalo as representatives for Plaquemines Parish. I'm sure that they're looking out for our interests, but a call from the public as well as from the members would probably help strengthen up their position. So for those of you who want to reach out to them, that would be a great help. Any further items under the report? If not, we will move to bids and advertisements.
Good afternoon. I'm Brenda Stanifer, Plaquemines Parish Purchasing Agent. I have a resolution accepting the bids for furnishing portable restrooms for a period of 1 year for parish-wide use. After due advertisements, bids were received April 14th from the following: Airbags, Inc. of Belchase, Nation Station Waste Services of Pearl River, and Pot of Gold Rentals of Hammond. It is my recommendation that we accept the overall low bid of Airbags.
Someone like to offer that? Councilman Black offers and Councilman Lapine seconds. Any comments or questions on the acceptance of the bids? Hearing none, machine is open. And the bid is accepted 9-0.
Okay, I have a resolution authorizing the acceptance of bids for furnishing janitorial supplies for a period of 1 year for parish-wide use. After due advertisements, bids were received April 14th from the following: Economical Janitorial out of New Orleans, A&L Sales of Belchase, Pyramid Scoot Products of Florida, All-American Poly of New Jersey, Interpro Packing Company of New York. Ms. Tony Martinez, Building Supervisor, recommends the acceptance of the low bid of Economic Janitor, the low bid of A&L Sales, and the low bid of Pyramid School Products as detailed within.
All offers, there a second? Second by Councilmember Juneau. Any comments or discussion on the acceptance of the resolution accepting janitorial supplies? Hearing none, machine is open. And the resolution is adopted 9-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move to item number 3, beer and liquor license. Councilmember Bartholomew.
Have none.
None.
I have none.
I have two.
Councilman Juneau.
The Cypress Bar, 9338 Belchas Highway 23. Little G's Cajun Restaurant, 9338 Belchas Highway 23. Thank you.
Thank you. I have none. Councilmember Byrd. Councilman Salvon.
I have none, sir.
I have none, sir.
And I have none.
Councilman Juneau offers the liquor license. Is there a second?
Yes, sir.
Second by Councilmember Edgecombe. The machine is open on the liquor license. No liquor license are approved, 9-0. We'll move to, at this time, might be appropriate to go through the deferrals and withdrawals in case someone's waiting on an item that might be in the audience. At this time, we'll start with Councilmember Bartholomew on deferrals and withdrawals. Councilmember Bartholomew.
Yeah, I have a withdrawal. I'd like to withdraw item 6G.
Item 6G will be withdrawn. Councilman Black.
Yeah, I'm going to defer 7H.
7H will be deferred. That's 7H deferred. Councilmember Lapine?
I have none.
Councilman Lapine. Councilman Juneau?
Yes. I have one to withdraw. 6J.
6J will be withdrawn.
That's withdrawn on a request of the Sheriff's Office.
No, J is Juno. I will have items 6, B, and C will be deferred. B and C. Councilman Burt.
I have none.
Councilman Salvon.
Yes, sir. Due to some recent changes that's being made to the legislation, item M, I'm going to defer M.
Item M will be deferred. Is that it?
That's it, sir.
Councilman Edgecombe.
Yes, sir. I'm going to withdraw 6A1
6A1 withdrawn.
and defer 6A3.
6A3 deferred.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Councilman Williams.
I have none.
None. At this time, we will refer to 6A1 withdrawn, 6-3 deferred, 6B and C deferred, 6G withdrawn, 6J withdrawn, 6M deferred, and 7H deferred. Any others at this time? Hearing none, we'll move to item 4, building permits.
4A1, Gulf Inland Contractors, Inc., application number 2014-5721, dated September 12, 2014, to abandon and remove all structures and flow lines associated with the Chevron facility, Bay Pomme d'Or. Councilmember Williams. Item 4A2, Hellas Oil and Gas Company, LLC, application number 2014-6036, dated December 16, 2014, to jet along existing 6-inch flow lines to replace an existing clamp with a new Pleco clamp, West Black Bay Field. Councilmember Bartholomew. Items 4A3, Dimension Energy Company, LLC, application number 2015-78, dated January 26, 2015, to wheel wash, install pile clusters, drill the SL21284 Price Well Number 1, install well protection structures and lower existing pipeline. Taylor Pass, Breton Sound. Councilmember Bartholomew. 4A4, Swift Energy Operating, LLC, application number 2015-155, dated February 18, 2015, to install 6-inch pipelines, Lake Washington Field. Councilmember Edgecombe. Item 4A5, Century Exploration New Orleans, NO, LLC, application number 2015-212, dated March 5, 2015, to install 8-inch pipeline, Breton Sound area, blocks 34, 46, 47, and 51. Councilmember Bartholomew. 4A6, Dune Energy, Inc., application number 2015-285, dated March 31, 2015, to install 4-inch flow lines, platform, and walkway, Garden Island Bay Field. Councilmember Bartholomew. Item 4A7, Chevron Ornite Company, LLC, application number 2015-214, dated March 5, 2015, to install 26 timber piles to construct concrete foundation, Chevron Ornite Plant, Belle Chase. Councilmember Burt.
Is there any objection to taking 4A1 through 4A7 in globo?
Mr. Chairman,
Councilmember.
I have a concern on item 3. Do we have anybody can explain the wheel washing component, how much damage will that be? Or will it be any damage at all to our marshland?
No one here representing Dimension Energy Company, LLC? Seeing no
Anybody
one,
in-house can,
you want to defer that item? Or you want
yeah, I mean, if no one here right now can explain that, I'd like to defer, we can get an explanation at the next meeting. See, I'm concerned about what we're trying to do with restoration, and now we're coming with wheel washing. I wonder if they're going to destroy some of the restoration we're putting back. I'm just being facetious, of course, but just the idea is that it's whenever you wheel wash like that, you're destroying some marsh, some property. So I'd like to defer that one.
Any objection to moving with items 6A1, 6A2, 6A4, 5, 6, and 7 in globo?
Question?
Hearing none. Councilman Bartholomew offers. Is there a second?
Second.
Councilman Juno seconds. Any comments or discussion on those items? Hearing none. Yes, Mr. Henry.
Since these are construction projects, well, we have the permit office here. Once these permits are approved by the council, do we have any way of monitoring these projects? I mean, if you're building a house, you gotta have the electrical inspector come, you gotta have the plumbing inspector come. Well, these are construction contracts according to what the agenda says. So, is anybody doing any kind of monitoring or inspecting these deals? We just letting them pay us the money and forget about it? That's what it seems like.
Does anyone want to address Mr. Henry's concern?
I'll address that, Mr. Chairman. You'll hear an ordinance introduced today that'll address that item.
Thank you, sir.
Any other comments or discussion?
Speaking of permits, I would like to try to get the administration to look for ways not to create a new position, maybe to move a position around. I know the permits department, Mr. Mitra, is on the road quite a bit, and there's nobody kind of left to man the shop. I would suggest that you guys look and see if we can not create a position, but maybe move somebody internally to fill that as an administrative role. Thank you.
We'll certainly look into that for you, Councilman Black, and get with the permit department and see what suggestions that they may have.
Any further comments on the construction permits, items 4? Yes.
Just Warren Lawrence, Myrtle Grove. I just had one suggestion, is that in issuing these contracts, we may consider requiring the applicant on the permit to hire independent certified inspector to certify that they're doing the job right. In other words, whether it's a deposit has to be put down in conjunction with the permits. It's just like if you were building a house, he said. If you want to hire, instead of using parish inspectors, you can hire a private certified inspector to do your inspections at your home. I'm looking at the same thing with this. We got the problem we at with all this land destroyed out there because nobody kept track of it. There's currently, and if you go on a U.S. Wild Reserve and do this, there's inspections done, there's pictures taken before it starts, it's certified that it's done. And it's just a suggestion. I don't know what Councilman Burge is going to come up with, but I think there's a way that if you have to be required to hire an independent inspector approved by the parish to verify that the work is done in accordance and restored back to its original condition. Thank you.
Mr. Lawrence, this resolution I'm going to introduce today will address that.
Are there any further comments on 4A? 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, and 7? Hearing none, the machine is open. And the permits are adopted 8 to 1 abstention. Councilmember Black abstaining. This time we will move to introductions of ordinances and resolutions. Councilmember Bartholomew.
Yes, I have one. An ordinance creating a policy wherein any project defunded Viva Ordinance number 15-18 will take priority when money becomes available to refund said projects and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. That's all, Mr. Chairman.
We're ready for the dogs.
Yeah, I have one. This does not pertain to the port. My apologies. An ordinance to amend and as amended re-adopt ordinance number 06-112, section 5-70, unreasonable disturbance by barking dogs and otherwise with respect thereto. That's all.
Councilman Lapine.
I have one. An ordinance to amend the 5-year capital improvement plan for the District 3 drainage project and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. That's all, sir.
Councilmember, I have a resolution designating the fiscal agent for the parish of Plaquemines for the period commencing June the 1st, 2015 and ending May 31st, 2017. A resolution to appoint replacement members to the Plaquemines Parish Tourism Commission Board and otherwise provide with respect thereto. And an ordinance approving a plan of re-subdivision of lots 55 and 56 Intercoastal Canal Subdivision, Plaquemines Parish, Louisiana, into 56A Intercoastal Canal Subdivision, Plaquemines Parish, Louisiana, is shown on the plan and plat of survey of Dufresne Surveying and Engineering and Company, dated February 12, 2015. The owner having fulfilled all of the requirements of the subdivision and re-subdivision ordinance of the parish of Plaquemines without cost to the Plaquemines Parish government or the parish of Plaquemines and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
I have three, Mr. Chairman. A resolution authorizing and directing Parish President Amos Cormier to have his administration provide recommendations on establishing a regulatory program to monitor oil and gas permits issued by Plaquemines Parish government and possible permit fee increases to fund the cost of the regulatory monitoring program and enforcement of the Plaquemines Parish Coastal Zone Management laws, and to further have the parish administration report back to the council with its findings and recommendations on these matters within 60 days of the adoption of this resolution, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. An ordinance to amend as amended ordinance number 14-158, policies, practices, and duties of the Internal Audit Department, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. An ordinance authorizing the parish president to assign a member of the legal department to assume the role of project manager previously given to the law firm of Dwyer, Cambry, and Suffern, LLP. That is all, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Councilman Savant.
Yes, sir, I have two. An ordinance approving a plan of re-subdivision of the property of HIG LLC, Plaquemines Parish, Louisiana, as shown on map of re-subdivision tract C-2 into C-2-A and C-2-B, Home Place, Narren, Louisiana, by Hugh McCurdy, III, PLS, dated February 29, 2012. The owner having fulfilled all of the requirements of the subdivision and re-subdivision ordinance of the parish of Plaquemines without cost to Plaquemines Parish government, to the parish of Plaquemines, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. An ordinance by the Plaquemines Parish Council as on behalf of the Beerus Levy District to appropriate new perpetual levy easement and new temporary work area easement in certain portions of land in Plaquemines Parish, Louisiana, to construct the New Orleans to Venice NOV-06B city price to Empire, upgrades to existing fronting protection at Tennessee Gas, Hayes, and Gaynard Woods project in Plaquemines Parish, Louisiana, for levee, drainage, flood, and hurricane protection purposes, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
I have none, sir.
I have one. An ordinance prohibiting commercial and recreational mud boats from trespassing on public and private property located within the boundaries of Plaquemines Parish without the written permission of the landowners, and to establish enforcement provisions and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
This time, is that all the introductions? Have none, we'll move to item 6A2.
An ordinance to amend the setback requirements in a settlement agreement between Plaquemines Parish government and the Woodlands Borrow Pit LLC, covering permitted operations of the Woodlands South Borrow Pit in exchange for Woodlands Borrow Pits LLC donating the required portion of the levy servitude for the NOV-06A.2 levy project, which lies within this Woodlands South Borrow Pit property, and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
Councilman Savant.
Yes, Mr. President, I would like to move forward. This ordinance has been discussed for some time now, and it's been beaten, and I think we should move forward on it. So I'm going to ask you to vote your conscience on this matter, and I would ask for someone to second it, and I would like to move forward.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Councilmember Williams. Any comments or discussion? Mr. Lawrence.
Yeah, I have one, Warren Lawrence, Myrtle Grove. I just had some questions. Is the ordinance for the phase 1 or the phase 2, what did they select they're going to do? They had three options, the existing one, option 2, and option 3. And I don't know which one are you pushing forward on. And secondly, I would ask that since I understand that they've finally hired Myers Engineering to come in, that this thing be looked at by this engineering firm before we go forward. I know what you're saying, we beat it to death. And the only thing is, I don't know what the final outcome is. Is it going to be realignment number 3 or realignment number 2? And
Mr. Lawrence, I would defer your question to Mr. Rittner.
Okay.
Good evening, Blair Rittner, Plaquemines Parish Land Department. This particular piece of legislation actually doesn't have to, it's not dealing with the 6A2 alignment. What this particular piece of legislation is addressing is we have an alignment that the Corps has moved forward with, and what's happened is Woodlands Borough has a pit that's permitted in the location of the levee location. About a year and a half, maybe a little longer, we asked them not to dig until we can finalize this particular location for the levee. So what they came up with a plan to actually, if the ordinance is actually given a waiver on the setback. The setback under the ordinance is 1,000 feet. There was a settlement a year ago, I don't know how long ago in time, but they moved that setback requirement back to like 500 feet. Right now, what we're asking is to move the setback to 150 feet off of the property line. Now, what they have done in to me, very good faith, they've given the parish, as part of the project, they've given up that particular borough site. They're giving us 48 acres of land that they have. And in exchange, if we change the waiver from 500 feet to 150 feet, we only giving them, meaning the parish, if this waiver passes, about 250 feet or 33 acres. So that the true ordinance is the setback waiver for this particular ordinance. The alignment of the levee is already chosen, so there won't be a levee alignment change. Okay. Let me see what you did.
That's what you gave me.
Yeah, okay. This was two alternatives that were studied. Right. Okay, this is the alternative that they moved forward with. They're about 65% in completion of this plan, of that particular alignment.
So this alignment here is where you're talking. This alignment is not going to be used.
This
I want a sidebar?
Huh? I'm sorry, Mr. Roussel. I don't know if we could show you this.
Well, the only thing I'm asking is that we're looking at paperwork, and if we just hired an engineer to look at these borrow pits and see what's taking place, I don't know what's the problem in having that engineer look at this proposal and say yay, say nay, you know, if they agree with it. They're the experts, and that's all I'm asking is why couldn't they look at it?
Well, because it has nothing to do with the ordinance that's before us. This is the alignment, period. Okay? They have a borrow pit that's permitted, and all we're doing is doing a setback requirement so they can enlarge the pit. They're giving us 48 acres, we're giving them 33.
Any further comments or discussion on the item?
Well, I don't see the harm in having the engineer look at what he's trying to describe. We don't have a finished plan on what's going to happen. He said it's drawn, we haven't seen it, and I'm asking that, you know, do what y'all want on it. But, I mean, this has been hacked around. We've never seen the final. It's a realignment of the levee. There's no way it's not a realignment. It is not where, when we had the public hearings, where this levee was going to go. It's now that levee will be relocated in another location.
All right, let me address that, please. Mr. Roussel, you have been beating me up pretty good on that particular alignment going between Plaquemines Clay and Woodlands Borough. I have an AE report, Mr. Lawrence, I'll email it to you. It's a report that was completed in 2009 to show that 6A2 alignment. It's not a new alignment. This has been in place for over 6 years. It's been talked about 2 or 3 years prior to that. So it is an engineering report that's been finalized in 2009. I don't remember the month.
And my question is, what is the harm in the engineering firm looking at it?
Okay, because we're not talking about a borrow pit. That's why. I mean, all we're doing is giving a waiver on an ordinance for a setback of 150 feet.
Okay, any further comments or discussion? Any further questions?
Mr. Chairman, the administration would like to say that not to decide is to decide. we've been delaying, and the people need protection, and we need to get these alignments fixed up and move on to give the protection to the people in those areas.
Thank you, Mr. President. We're going to decide all right. Any further questions, comments, or discussion? Hearing none. Machine is open. And the ordinance fails 6-3. There's your decision. Move on to item D.
An ordinance to amend the 2015 General Fund Manpower Structure Courthouse Security - General Department and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
Councilmember Burt.
I'll offer as read.
Councilman Burt offers. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Battaglia. Any comments or discussion on the item? Hearing none, machine is open. And the ordinance is adopted 7-1.
Thank you.
District 7 voting no. Move to item 6. Excuse me? 8-1, I'm sorry. You can't count today. 6. Move to item 6D is just adopted to 8-1. Move to item E.
An ordinance to amend the 2015 Waterworks and Sewage Fund Manpower Structure, Waterworks-Billing/Collections Department and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
Councilman Salvon, do you have a blank in there before you offer? A substitute or addition?
Oh, my God. Accident. Okay, yes, we are on E, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, there was a need for, to replace, to reinstate the worker, clerk one position down at the Waterworks South. And in order to do that, it was defunded, I think, back in December of last year. So someone came to me and asked that it was a need. The lady from the director or superintendent at Waterworks, and requested that I seek that position to be reinstated. So I know that was a pact that was made with this government, with this council, to not to arbitrarily just spend money when we're in such a tight bind for money. So what I did, I had finance to look within vacant positions, whereas I could probably substitute one. And with that said, I'm going to ask Ms. Angie to speak to it further.
What Ms. Salvant requested was...
You want to come to the mic or have a mic?
Ms. Sullivan requested us to find a vacant position, and there was one, a clerk position in the Recreation South Department. So we are basically going to unfund the position, the one in Recreation South, and move the money to the clerk position in Waterworks.
So Councilman Salvon offers with changes. Is there a second?
Yes, sir.
Second by Councilmember Williams. And this is holding true to the fact that we are not affecting the general fund in any negative way.
No, sir, actually it will add money because the position will only be required to put money in for approximately maybe 8 to 7 months. So the remainder will go back into the general fund.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any further comments or discussion on the item?
One question, Ben.
Councilmember
So
Lapine.
the position in Recreation South is not needed anymore? Anyone can answer that, or?
Well, actually, when I called around, they were telling me that it hadn't been advertised since 2013. So we thought that was a position that was readily available that we could address, that we could utilize.
All
So
right.
if the position's been vacant since 2013, I guess that speaks for itself.
I would like to add, I would leave it up to the administration maybe to look around. I think we have some positions that maybe need to be realigned, and I'm not sure if this is the correct way to do it. Just just taking from one department and putting to another. I know Recreation, especially Recreation South, probably needs some other personnel.
I'm sorry, it was a groundskeeper position, excuse me.
Even more so needed, I believe.
I think they had 2 public groundskeepers, if I'm not mistaken.
And neither,
my head.
that's right, that's correct.
And we had given them a list back in December, and they had never made a selection from that. So we have advertised for it at the end of last year, but no selection has been made since that time.
But that was the previous administration who had asked for that position?
Correct.
Okay, so what I'm saying is I would like to afford the opportunity to the new administration to decide whether or not they need that position still in Recreation South. That's why I'm going to oppose this.
Before we go to any further discussion, I'll just go ahead and defer it, Mr. Black. I'm just trying to do the right thing here. I know there's a great need for the clerk too in the Waterworks Department, greater than it is for a groundskeeper, because if there was a need for the groundskeeper, I'm more than sure since 13 we're in 15, and it hadn't been addressed. But with that said, I'm going to defer.
Thank you.
6E will be deferred. We'll move to item F.
A resolution authorizing the letting for public competitive bids of Lot E of the Venice Boat Harbor.
Councilmember Williams.
I'll offer as read.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Councilmember Juneau. Councilmember Williams, could you give us a little explanation on, or somebody give us an explanation on which lot this is? I know we had some question early on about which lot this was.
Right, it's a lot in the harbor that has been the lease. It's no longer being leased, and I feel that we can use the money, the income at this time, if someone is willing to obtain it and lease it. So I'd just like y'all to support me on this.
Okay. Does the administration have anyone that's nominated this property for lease?
I was told that there was no specific person, because I asked that question.
Well, the reason I ask that is because we have properties sitting throughout the parish in different locations that haven't raised to the level of being leased yet. And if this is in the Venice Boat Harbor, I would hope that the administration puts the criteria on the lease to be able to be beneficial to the parish in a way that we get fair economic value for it. There's been a lot of discussion about the value of our properties and how we lease them and then they become subleased, and extreme amounts of profit are taken in between the parish and the lessee. So, I want to support Ms. Williams in this effort, but at the same time, I want to make sure that the parish is well represented on the end of the lease, and if this is going to be brought back to us, I guess we can make that decision at that time.
Mr. Chairman, I would defer to legal because I spoke to Mr. Landry in reference to that same issue that you just raised.
Mr. Landry, would you like to address the issue?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I did speak with Mr. Williams, and legal has been making an effort since we changed administrations to fix all of the contracts and leases that the parish enters into to make them more beneficial and economical to the public fisc.
And so no one's nominated this? This is just coming straight?
No, it's just going to be let, but we'll make sure that whatever contract is ultimately perfected will in fact benefit the parish.
Thank you. Any further comments or discussion on the item? Councilman.
Chairman, I echo what you're saying. We've been around this for many years. It's time that these leases that the parish has, and they renew, that the parish benefit. Please, let's start doing the right thing for the people. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Councilman Tommy.
If the bid is not acceptable or up to par as far as the parish's council is concerned on the norm, will we have the right to reject that bid?
We will make that available to you. The answer is yes.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Any further comments or discussion on the resolution? Hearing none, machine is open. The resolution is adopted 9-0. We'll move to item H.
A resolution to appoint the member of the Plaquemines Parish Economic Development Board representing District 1 for the term ending December 31st, 2018, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
Councilmember Bartholomew.
Positive read.
I'll second. Any comments or discussion? None? Machine is open.
Thank you. Congratulations, Mike.
9-0. We will move to item I.
A resolution authorizing the parish president to enter any and all equity state agreements between Plaquemines Parish government and the Louisiana Department of Transportation and Development, which are or will be necessary to secure state and federal grant money for the ongoing transportation-related projects, and otherwise to do all things necessary and proper to sign, perfect, perform, and enforce those, to perfect, perform, and enforce those agreements.
Councilmember Juneau.
As read.
Mr. Juneau offers. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Councilmember Salvant.
Yes.
Salvant and Black. Thank you both.
Good comment.
Any comments or discussion on the resolution? Hearing none. Machine's open. And the resolution is adopted 9-0. We move to item K.
An ordinance to amend Chapter 15, Section 15-4, speed limits to include provisions to change the speed limit on Barrier Road, Bellchase, Louisiana, to install the appropriate speed limit signs, to establish a penalty for the violation thereof, and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
I'll offer and ask for a second.
Second.
Second by Councilmember Juneau. Any comments or discussion on the item? Hearing none. Machine is open. And the ordinance is adopted 9-0. Move to item L.
A resolution authorizing and directing the Council Chairman Benedict Roussel to request an Attorney General opinion concerning the authority given to the Council via the Parish Charter for Local Self-Government, Section 4.01A, in parentheses 26, to provide for the compensation and the terms and conditions of employment under which all of its employees shall be employed and work for the Parish of Plaquemines and all other potential political subdivisions and districts therein, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
I'll offer and ask for a second.
I'll second.
Second by Councilman Salvant. Any comments or discussion on the item?
I got one question, Benny. Where are we headed with this?
We're headed to the Attorney General's office asking them for an opinion on this.
For clarification reasons, for what?
To clarify, well, I'll read it to you. It's to clarify whether the council has the authority to provide for the compensation and terms and conditions of employment on which all of its employees shall be employed and work for the parish of Plaquemines and all other political subdivisions and districts therein. It's a repetition of the charter, but there's been some discussion in the legal field about whether this is a constitutional restriction, and so it's a clarification as to what the charter really says.
Okay.
Any comments or discussion on the item? Hearing.
Mr. Roussel, I totally agree with you. Thank you.
Thank you. Machine is open.
I would like to maybe make sure that it's clear in the request to the AG opinion that when the charter was written, we did not have a civil service system in place, but that it is clear that they understand that we do have classified employees under a civil service system also in the opinion.
When you visited my office the other day and I explained this to you, I thought it was clear to you exactly what the intent was. If you did not understand it, you're welcome to come back and I'll be glad to explain it again.
Right. I wanted to read the opinion just to make sure that when we do get an opinion back, that it's clarified, you know, what their opinion is.
I understand, and the opinion will be written just as I explained to you in the office.
Okay.
Thank you. Any comments or discussion on the item?
Yeah, I would just like to see, if this does so pass, just the council can review before it gets sent up to the Attorney General. Is that
It's already prepared. It's in the office. If you'd like to view it, you're welcome to view it.
All right, thanks.
Thank you. Machine is open. The ordinance is adopted 7-2 with Councilmember Edgecombe and Lapine voting no. We'll move on to item number N.
An ordinance by the Plaquemines Parish Council as and on behalf of the West Bank Levy District to appropriate new perpetual levy easements and new temporary work area easements in certain portions of lands in Plaquemines Parish, Louisiana, to construct the New Orleans to Venice NOV-NF-W-06B4 structures preload project in Plaquemines Parish, Louisiana for levee drainage, flood, and hurricane protection purposes and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
Councilmember Salvant.
Yes, again, I would like to ask Mr. Rittner to come forward and explain.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Burt.
Again, Blair Rittner, Land Department. This particular project is, we have on the Point Celeste pump station, they're going to build frontal protection, which basically they're going to build a T-wall behind both stations, and they're going to put backflow preventers where when the water on the outside comes up, it doesn't flow into the parish. And what we found on the pumps, the new pump station in Wilkerson Pump, when they preload an area, they build it up 12, 18 feet in the air, and they let it settle for 1 year. And it packs the grounds, and basically, once the project starts, they're going to save a year on construction. There's two places in here. One is at Point Celeste Pump. There's another one right where the levee, the back levee turns on Highway 23. There's two gas lines that run through. They want to preload those two areas. And that's all this particular piece, that project. It's two very small projects.
Any further comments, Ms. Salvant?
No, I would like to move forward,
Councilman Salvant.
and I'm
calls the
asking for
question,
your support.
And she seeks our support. Question, machine is open. And the ordinance is adopted 9-0.
Thank you.
Move to item O.
An ordinance to amend the 5-year capital improvements plan road maintenance District 6 project and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
Councilmember Salvant.
Okay, Mr. President, I think that this can, we can refer back to the question that Mr. Edgecombe asked the President earlier. Due to the redistricting, that was some issues with the funding. For instance, my district now is 7, but there was funding in District 6 that really was allocated by the previous council member. So all I'm doing is reestablishing the money to the proper area.
Councilman Salvant offers. Is there a second?
I'll second, sir.
Second by Councilmember Edgecombe. Any comments or discussion on the item? Hearing none, machine is open. And the ordinance is adopted 9-0. Move to item P.
An ordinance to amend the 2015 General Fund Community Programs Department and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
Councilmember Edgecombe.
Officer.
Councilman offers. This distribution is with changes?
Yes, sir, I'm sorry. Offer with changes, sir.
Councilman Edgecombe offers with changes. Is there a second? Second by Councilmember Lapine. Any comments or discussion?
Offer is read, sir, please.
Okay. At this time, I'd like to make the statement that, when we went through and scrubbed the budget, I thought we had done all we could do. And in keeping with my colleagues, if we've had a change in direction, I'd like for them to express it now so I'll know how I'm going to continue to vote on these items. Anybody have any comments or discussion on this item?
I just have a comment on, these funds. I mean, Councilman Edgecombe, just explain a little bit to us. exactly where these funds, I see sewer extension, District 7. Can you explain a little bit to where it's from and where it's going?
Yes, I will. Actually, District 7 was actually back to what Ms. Audrey was talking about a few minutes ago. It was my old district, of course, which is District 8 now, but it was in a project that we had. It's transferring $50,000 from that to care services. Also, $3,000 is coming out of District 6 Department Office Furniture, going to that same line item, the care program, and also $3,000 from Council District 9 employee expense travel. I would ask for my colleagues to support this. I know we talked about different things and what have you, but this is something I'm very passionate about, and I would ask for my colleagues to support me, please.
Any further comments or discussion?
Yes, I would like to say, Mr. President, is that I'm wrestling too with this legislation. I've met with Ms. Olson in the past, and that's a very worthwhile project and organization that they're running, but still my confusion and my struggle comes with the fact that I know we have turned some people away, and to go back and start singling people out,
Which one?
I'm just struggling with this.
I understand. Yes, Ms. Olson.
Hi, I'm Julie Olson, the Executive Director with Plaquemines Community Care Centers, as some of you know. The Care Center was founded in 2005 as a public-private partnership in response to a need for services to be provided in Plaquemines Parish. The Care Center is the only human service agency located in Plaquemines Parish, providing services to residents throughout the parish on a full-time basis. In the preamble of the Plaquemines Parish Charter, it states, "We, the people of Plaquemines Parish, are seeking divine guidance to grant us the courage and resourcefulness to preserve and operate the fullest measure of local self-government and the preservation of individual rights and liberties for the general welfare and happiness of our people." The Care Center is the agency in Plaquemines Parish that helps people with their general welfare and happiness by serving as Plaquemines Parish's Human Services Agency. I am requesting a reinstatement of funding of at least a portion of the previously dedicated $237,000 that had gone to the Care Center in the past. The Care Center is an umbrella agency with 11 centers under our agency, which include the Parenting Center, which provides parenting classes and counseling, the Plaquemines Children's Advocacy Center, working with children who are sexually or physically abused, CASA of Plaquemines, working with the children removed from their homes due to abuse or neglect, Wellness and Behavioral Health Center, providing counseling, stress reduction, anger management, coping skills, and psychological evaluations, a Substance Abuse Center for adults and a separate one for adolescents, a Domestic Violence Center, counseling for victims, and separate counseling is offered for perpetrators to reduce the reoccurrences, an Advocacy Resource and Referral Center, which includes case management services, a Juvenile Justice Center, providing juvenile court behavioral health programs, a Family Justice Center, working with adults in probation, misdemeanor, and diversion programs. We also house the New Orleans Legal Assistance Plaquemines office, and we chair the Children and Youth Planning Board for Plaquemines Parish. Care Center currently provides these services at 13 locations throughout the parish. At our main office on Keating and Belchase, at the Plaquemines Medical Center, at the 3 community YMCAs in Port Sulphur, Buras, and Davant, and at all schools throughout the parish, including the Learning Center. The Care Center is funded through grants, contracts, fundraisers and donors, Medicaid reimbursements, and sliding scale fees for service. However, no one is turned away due to an inability to pay. There is a fee reduction and waiver policy in place based on proof of income. In 2014, we served 2,564 residents for a total of 7,485 service hours. This was at a cost of only $31.66 per session for the parish based on the previous $237,000 funding. 25 of those clients in 2014 were suicidal, And through our services, those lives were saved. 28 children we served were physically abused, and 18 children we served were sexually abused. If one of those suicidal clients was your family members, or one of those children were your child, you would certainly feel this funding from the parish is minimal compared to the life helped. The residents of Plaquemines Parish are this parish's greatest resource. They are the ones who elected you to serve and represent them, and per our parish charter, to preserve the general welfare and happiness of those residents. I've witnessed the compassion of this council when at one of your very first council meetings, you reinstated $111,000, which was the 50% portion of the budget for Council on Aging, which had been cut in the 2015 budget that this council inherited, by freeing up those funds from another budgeted source. I applaud you for that action, and I ask that you show the same compassion for the residents of the parish aged 2 to 102, to be able to obtain the same level of services from the care centers that they need to survive and cope in our community. You've demonstrated through your support of the Council on Aging that when there's a will, there's a way. I ask you to do the same for the care centers. I would like to thank Council Bartholomew for proposing the original ordinance and Council Edgecombe for proposing the current ordinance. I'd also like to thank Council Williams for seconding the original proposal and Councilman Lapine for seconding this one. And I'd like to thank each of the council members for examining every dollar being allocated for projects or spending in their districts and offices to identify the current funding being proposed for the care center. To date, through that examination, council members Edgecombe, Burt, and Williams were able to identify the funding being voted on today. I again would like to thank you and ask for your support.
Thank you for your comments, and I think it would be remiss if we didn't state the fact that we do fund your agency to the tune of over $220,000 through the judge's budget. And I would say that, those funds come directly out of our general fund to do that. So it's already being funded to some extent, maybe not to the satisfactory of what you're requesting. And I guess at the end of the day, what I'm looking at is the commitment that we had about taking projects, because when we scrubbed this budget, we took projects out of everyone's district, and we thought we had done that. But if we're going to go back into continue to strip budgets and then come back and try to find money for those projects when they run short of funding, that'll be, in hindsight, a mistake. And I hope to deviate from the past of how this government operated, to where there are so many resolutions moving so much money around to where it was like a maze trying to keep track of that. And so having said that, at this point I'm sticking to that commitment of not moving money out of these projects. And I appreciate your comments and the services that you do, but I cannot support the resolution at this time.
Okay, and one further comment. We actually get $192,000 from the judge. That funding is currently obtained indirectly from the parish, for the courts and the DA's office also. And those funds are restricted to the populations that receive services due to their involvement with the courts or the DA's office. That is 17% of the total population served through the care center. The remaining 83% need the assistance of your funding to allow them to continue to receive the same level of services that they are currently receiving. And while I respect what you say about looking for funding to piecemeal and pay for projects, as I said, when there was a will, there was a way for counseling agent, and I ask you to find a way to do it for the care center. Thank you.
Any further comments or discussion?
Yes, ma'am, Ms. Olson.
Hi.
I went and visited you, and I saw it, and it's one of the better things we have in the parish. But again, it's what we told you, if we had the money, we could give you $1 million. But this council does not have the money, and I'm happy that they found the money. But like Mr. Roussel says, we turned down other people, and if we do it to you, then we're going to be contradicting everything we said at the beginning. And I wish I had in my budget that I could give you $500,000, but I don't, and we don't. But I appreciate Mr. Edgecombe and the ones that did it. Now, you said that you had to, did you ever have to let those 2 other people go that you said you had
We have let one go, yes, we have.
let one go, and I hate that.
So we have had a reduction in
But
staff.
I know that we supposed to give you, if we give you the 220,000, that's 23%, am I correct, of your total budget?
It was a little less than 30%,
less
for
than 30%, that's right.
$237,000, right.
But you got us you got me in a predicament where it's a catch-22. If I do it, I feel like I'm doing wrong. If I don't do it, I feel like I'm doing wrong. But I want to tell you, we're not doing it against you or your organization. We know it does a good job. But it's something that we turned down people, others before, that had problems. And I just hope in 2016 we can find more money to help all of you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any further comments or discussion on the item?
This is a tough one. Ms. Olson do a great job with the care center, but the care center is needed for the sanctity of the people of the parish. I hope you get 5 votes, and when it all come back up, everything will be okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further comments or discussion on the item?
Yeah, I do.
Mr. Black.
And I truly understand where you're coming from, Mr. Chairman, and that's why I'm torn as well, as Mr. Juneau is. I think we are deviating from it, and I got a feeling that we probably are going to deviate from that original decision in the future. I would like to ask Ms. Olson, number one, I guess another question, just to put it on record, how much did this council remove from your budget? The answer is 0, okay? So we didn't defund it. I want the public to understand that we did not defund this program. Now getting back to the other question from Mr. Russo, that's where we're at. I think it's a bigger issue than just the funding for this, as you stated. So we have to make a decision. Are we going to go back to really where we were, taking money from projects that are left over, if we have that funding available, or are we just going to go across the board and not relocate that money? That's just a question we have to, yeah, go ahead, John.
Mr. Chairman, request a 3-minute break session. 3-minute break, please.
Recess for 3 minutes.
I go to the restaurant. Everybody can come in and we'll talk.
I don't think so.
I'm going to start asking for breaks every time I need to go to the bathroom.
If we do this, the bank nails are going to be
I'm not
laying
doing
down in front of you.
I was sticking to my word.
But each bank, we didn't take nothing from it. It was the
Yeah,
one
glad you
last.
brought that up because we lose sight of that. We take the responsibility for something we didn't do about taking the budget.
Right. The 297. But, I mean, you know, my feeling was to begin with, if we had money to move it, if it was another project, you know, we're in a situation where...
Well, you know, I'm holding my word till we break it. That's all I can say.
But every meeting, somebody introduces something else.
Yeah.
That does it.
Don't make us look, it looks like we're lying.
Right.
No, I don't think Nicole did it. I think they just don't switch up. Yeah. Oh, no.
I understand, but I'm holding my word till we break it. So
Yeah,
my word was that we're not going to do it, you know, that's where I'm at. So I'm up to go. Well, half out my vote.
Yeah. We should just go...
You're on the balance.
That's all right. I don't mind being on the council.
We don't want to do that.
I don't mind being on the council. That's where it's going. I'm holding my word till it's break.
Let's go break.
Well, if it breaks, then...
I think everybody's going to deviate, man.
Well, if they deviate, then, you know, fair game for everybody next. Then Katie bought a door. You know?
I just feel that this is the service that she's provided, and if, I mean, if you're taking money out of something that you're not gonna use.
Then it should have went into the general fund, when we're not gonna use it. That's why we sat there for 2.5 days cutting.
Well, actually, I'm happy that I've been watching my budget, because if I wouldn't have, they tried to take the $16,000 out of my budget yesterday. Well, actually, they took it out.
What happened when the Becknells come knocking on your door?
The Becknells is for a personal gain. She provides a service.
I know she does, but
Majority of the people in that program is from districts 6,
7,
5,
8, and 9.
actually they have 2 and 5, and our districts.
well, they
And
are.
I met with the YMCA yesterday.
Everybody
She does a
uses
lot. They do a lot of
Everybody
programs
uses it.
at the Y.
I think the school board ought to come
And at
up
the school
with a big money.
Yeah,
The school board should come up. The sheriff's office should come up. And the judges are giving them what we give them.
The judges don't give them nothing.
No, we
That's
giving
money
the
that we give
judges.
them.
We giving the judges.
They say, oh, we giving
They
it to
saying
them.
we
They're
giving
not.
them.
They're
We're
not.
giving it to them.
It's earmarked for the
Judge Clement's looking
But
like
it's only
God.
7. It's only 7.
We look like a dog.
We look like a dog. Judge Clement looks like he's a hero. But
But he's just
he's just
passing money
using our
through.
money. He's passing through. Yeah.
And that's only, like she said, only 17%. So that
Well,
money is
I
allocated
think
just
it's,
for
look, it's only
specific.
53,000 now, so that tells me that there's really room for them to do what they gotta do.
But they don't let one person go. I mean,
Yeah.
no, it's not a whole bunch of money in the scheme of things. But if you can save 2 or 3 people,
I think these people on top of it, just because some things, some people and all these people that have retired from
Right, from the school system,
that's
and working over
just
there.
supplement their income. I mean, come on now. That's what my problem is.
Get it off dead center. You know, look,
Well, anybody in the
I stick to
bathroom?
my word till the end, that's all I'm saying. No, it goes down, it goes down.
It goes down. I mean, if you support you, what you got. But I want to be able to look at people in the face that I was consistent.
It don't matter if it passes to me or not. My word is my word, you know? Then they get the money. If it passes...
Anybody go talk to them about
Three minutes is up, you ready? 'So am I. We're waiting for you.
Okay, thanks. I'm not used to that.
I'd like to call the meeting back to order after our 3-minute break. Councilmember Edgecombe. Councilman Edgecombe calls the question. Machine is open. And the resolution passes 5-4. Move to item number Q.
An ordinance to officially rename Ledart Lane in Buras, Louisiana to Austin Barrios Lane, authorizing the installation of street signs and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
Councilmember Williams.
I'll offer as read, just noting that Barrios is spelled incorrectly, and I'll get with Miss Barbara to have that changed.
Got it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Councilman Williams' office, is there a second?
Yes, sir.
Second by Councilman Edgecombe. Any comments or discussion on the item?
Yeah.
Hearing none, machine is open. And the ordinance is adopted 9-0. Move to new business. There are no introductions or resolutions wherein suspension is being sought, from what I understand. And Councilmember Salvon on update and presentation by District 7.
No, we're going to defer.
We'll defer item B. We move to item C.
Update on the engineering of the courthouse and tower, Councilmember Bartholomew.
Councilmember Bartholomew.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. We're still in litigation with the demolition of the old courthouse. I think we're in the Fourth Circuit right now. The engineer also has the right of permission to move forward to relocating the tower at the courthouse. And Linfield Hunter Jr. is the engineering firm for the construction of the new courthouse. The design should be finished somewhere between June and July. And at that point, we'll get with our engineering department, Mr. Ken Dugas, and see about putting it out for bid at that point. I don't know if the president have anything else to add to that.
No, Councilman Bartholomew, you're absolutely correct in what is going on, and we hope to continue to push it, get it expedited as soon as possible. The litigation process is the big hang-up right now between Hamps and Dynamic, and hopefully the courts will make their decision and get it out the way so we can move forward.
That's it, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. We'll move to item D.
Update and status on borrow pit collections and sales tax, Councilmember Roussel.
Yes, at the last meeting, we had a discussion that began and was deteriorating. So at this time, we'll ask the administration to try to bring us up to date on that item.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Shane Landry for Plaquemines Parish Government Legal. Council members, Mr. President, directors. 3 days ago, it fell to me to try to make some sort of order out of this chaos. As y'all know, this behemoth's been stuck in the mud a long time, and the folks in the parish and the council and the administration have all been very frustrated with the slow progress. As of right now, we have started to move a little bit. It's not been a lot of movement, but we are moving. We've issued a task order, and I have detailed that in the little report which I gave y'all earlier today, which I'd ask that y'all place into the record. Now, as of right now, Mr. Rathburn's firm, which was going to be initially the project management entity in this whole affair and mediate and coordinate between the engineering firm, Myers Engineering, and then Erickson, which is the auditor firm. He's no longer with us, and we're going to save a little bit of money by doing this in-house. And so the ordinance that y'all introduced earlier today, thank you, Mr. Burke, for doing that, is going to change the law so that legal or someone else in the administration can do this task. And for right now, that's me, unless the president changes his mind. I guess that's what I'm going to be doing for a while, in addition to my other duties in the legal department. The one thing I'd like to say is that now that we have a head to sort of bring, a chief, as it were, to bring the Indians together, I think we're going to make a lot more progress. We are moving on. Like I said, we have a task order. That task order was given to Mr. Randy Ossolet, who's going to, from Myers, who's going to start inspecting the first 6 permittees. I think there is one error in the report I gave you. I need to correct now. We have, I think it is 5 borrow pits and 1 sand pit. We do not have 1 application pending. So those are the 6 that are going to be looked at by Mr. Ossolet under the present task order. As for where we are, once we can get some inspections, I'm working now with the relevant parties in the administration and with Erickson to get and Mr. Silverman's here, we have Mr. Ossolet here, we have engineering, we have land, we have permits, everyone's here if y'all have questions. But the long and the short of it is we're going to get some more task orders produced shortly and put those into the pipeline so that we can make sure that the auditing function is working in conjunction with the engineering function. And of course, there's a lot of moving parts in this because you can't determine how much to charge folks for the use tax unless you can know how much they took out of the ground. So everything sort of has to work and move at the same time, and that's what I'm going to try to do. Right now, we got 23 borrow pits in the parish. Since 2013, we've collected about $77,000 in application fees. So that there's been some questions about the money before by various citizens. In 2014-2015 fiscal year, we collected $47,279.31 in road use fees. Now, this is self-reported to a great degree, and so we haven't had a mechanism heretofore to verify that, but that's how much we've collected. So from now on, we're going to have the engineer in place, we're going to have the auditors in place, and we'll be able to verify and make sure that this is in fact the amount of money we need to be collecting. I do not yet have sales tax data, but I'm going to get that. Let's see, we have one delinquent application, and that same particular company, I can't go into details for legal reasons, but this one particular company also has some sales tax problems, and so we'll probably be instituting enforcement action against them. And then we also have 4 other pits, which includes the one I just mentioned, that have some potential enforcement action that needs to be brought. We might be able to bring in another $100,000 through enforcement action. So that's where we are. We're gaining momentum. We're moving forward. It has taken a long time. When Mr. Rathburn left, there was just nobody to take this thing by the horns and move it forward. And then we lost Mr. Burris, and so now I'm here. I've got the bull by the horns. I'm hopefully going to be able to do something decent with it. And with your help and cooperation, I think we'll make progress, and we'll make sure that the people are satisfied and feel good and comfortable about what their government's providing for. Thank you. Any questions? Or?
No, I have a comment.
Yes, sir.
In your report, you propose that we come back in 6 months. That's really not acceptable. I would prefer a monthly report because this is an issue that has affected the parish greatly, and so I would prefer to see a monthly report.
The only reason I recommend 6 months, honestly, is you're not going to see any real change for about 6 months, even if we start moving things. The way these things have to all operate together, the complexity of getting all of the inspections done, having the people look at the numbers, in 6 months you'll see something that would be meaningful in terms of a report.
Well, how about not calling it a report as much as an update? A monthly update will be fine with me because I'm sure that the billing is going to be coming in monthly.
Okay. Okay, but well, some of this billing does not come in monthly. It comes in periodically. They do it, I think it's every $500,000.
I'm not talking about
aggregate
the payment schedule. I'm talking about the people we're hiring to do this work.
Oh, well, they're billing? You want to know how much we're paying them?
My reference to that is only that they are going to be progressing on a monthly basis, and they're going to be working and billing on a monthly basis, and so we should get a report on their progress on a monthly basis, rather than 6 months, and then find out that we have a misstep or a hole, and then 6 months have gone by, and we haven't addressed it.
Okay.
So I would prefer to see a monthly report if possible.
Well, I'll endeavor to do that for you. I'm just, I don't expect to see any real, we're not going to gain a lot of momentum because it's slow in building up. You know, we have to build steam. We are moving, but it's going to take a while to get to where we want to be. And I think in 6 months we'll actually start seeing that happen. But sure, I can do that.
My effort is to push that steam every month.
Okay.
So,
All right.
to get it moving.
Mr. President?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Sarvan?
Yes, Mr. Landry, just in your observation, since you, as you said, just got on the bull and started riding the bull, do you know for a fact that in your, as I said earlier, in your investigation, are there scales at every site? Because I'm being told that scales are not on site at all of these bar pit locations.
That's one of the enforcement areas that we're going to have to look at. I do not know with certainty that there are or are not. I've heard the same rumors you have, and that's one of the things I'm going to look into.
The pit north of...
Oh, Mr. Randy may
Ocelot.
have something. Mr. Ocelot?
I'll take that one, please. Thank you, Ms. Salvan. Good afternoon. It's Randy Ostolet here on behalf of Meyer Engineers. And just simply for the record, it is Meyer, M-E-Y-E-R. But, Ms. Salvan, I'm personally aware of one that does not, and it is, in fact, on our first task order. So that would be something that would certainly be noted. And with all due respect to what Mr. Chairman said, yes, I have no problem with coming in, at least giving a verbal update on where we are, which would lead you to understand what the ultimate report would be saying. So, and yes, Frank would probably be billing every month. I'm not going to deny that. But I would have no problem with reporting through Mr. Dugas and Mr. Landry as to what we have investigated and what an ultimate report will be saying. But to answer your question, I'm aware of one that, as of the last time I passed it, which was within maybe a week or so, I had not seen one.
Very good.
But that would be cited if it still is a condition. As recently as tomorrow, maybe Monday, I'll start looking at a couple of these pits. I went through this with Mr. Dugas as far as the logistics of how to approach this, and we agree we'll just start very simply, and we'll be looking for things like that. I'll probably go out myself personally and start identifying myself on behalf of the council and the government, explain what we're doing. If we have any backlash, I have Mr. Dugas to say get with me right away. But those are some of the simple things we'll be looking at. But in also not just simple things, it'll be doing an overall reconnaissance so that I can see where specific areas of extractions have occurred, so that I can later on get with the survey company instead of sending them out there blindly and having them look for extraction or calling me and saying, where do you want me to go? I'll have a better idea of me having investigated this personally to give a better and more accurate direction to the survey company in hopes that we can work it with respect to the budget too. And they would be able to get better aligned to give me an idea of how much it would ultimately cost or a time frame to do a certain survey.
Very good. Sounds like a plan to me.
It is. I think we had a very successful meeting. I think myself with Mr. Landry, Mr. Dugas, Mr. Metcalf, Mr. Serpaz, and we agreed to meet even as often as we feel we have to possibly do this. But I'm certainly willing, Shane, to come on behalf of what Mr. Russo is requesting and on behalf of the administration to at least give these updates on where we are. I think we had a great meeting. I know I'm looking to move forward on this too. So I've been laying around in bed for 4 weeks recovering. So now I'm looking to do something. So anyway, I thank you for your time, but I hope that answers some of your questions.
Yes, it does.
Anything else, I'll be happy to answer anything else while I'm on.
Yes, sir, if you would. Where's the
Sure.
location of the pit that does not have the scale?
It would be referred to as the Woodlands Pit North, which is north of the Myrtle Grove pump station that's being built. And that is...
That's the one that's just north of Arlington, correct?
Just north of Arlington, yes, sir, because there's two. There's a north and a
And y'all will
south.
go back and, like you said, check with the surveyor, see how much has been extracted out of that pit?
Yes, sir.
And that would be charged by the cubic yard or by the ton?
If it has been extracted, I personally have not witnessed any trucks coming out of there. I'm reasonably sure there's no scale back there. And with regard to a professional courtesy, I would identify myself to the owner and say, look, for example, I don't see a scale. Have y'all hauled out of here? And we'll go from there.
Right.
See what he tells me, and I'll report accordingly. So.
Okay, you just raised another question.
Yes, ma'am.
Just in the event there is no scale, how do we go back and account for the excavation that already took place?
The way I would consider approaching that is, it gets back to bringing the surveyors out there. If we go out there and we find a hole, and we assume that there's been some of this material sold, delivered, whatever, left the site, my opinion would be, or my interpretation would be, according to our contract, get the surveys to go out there, measure it. We would do some engineering conversions from cubic yards to appropriate tonnage that would have been removed. apply the rate mandated by the ordinance, which is 3 cents per ton, at least for the road maintenance, and say, here's a fair and reasonable estimate of how much money this amounts to. And like Mr. Landry was saying, we would coordinate through the auditors, the finance department, and my report would ultimately say, this is what we feel a fair, reasonable estimate of what is extracted amounts to dollars. And again, from the engineering aspect, there could be some things, maybe the top foot, if I look at a soil boring or something, say this is not suitable to be brought to a Corps of Engineers site, for example, and in fairness to an owner, I might say this shouldn't apply. But to answer your question, the surveyors could go out there, do a survey, we would appropriate some geotechnical principles to get a fair and reasonable adjustment from cubic yards to tonnage. The ordinance clearly stipulates, at least as far as the road ordinance is concerned, the road maintenance is 3 cents per ton. The sales tax is another issue that we're going to continue monitoring and talking about as our meetings go along.
Thank you.
Let me ask you this. Will it be evaluation as to where the material wound up or ended up, like whether it's on a federal levy or on a private project?
Good point, because Mr. Dugas and I talked exactly about that. I'm glad you brought it up. One thing we can do is Mr. Dugas and I both know several of the project managers involved with the Corps of Engineers that are monitoring these projects. We could get, if and whenever we could get tickets, printed tickets, that show a particular job number and who it's sold to, we could try to coordinate and partner with the Corps of Engineers project managers to say, for example, can you verify if this is what was brought onto NOV6 or NOV7, whatever particular. So we have discussed that. We've got a potential plan in place. Mr. Dugas and I are going to look to reach out to the project managers with the Corps of Engineers. That's the plan that we're considering right now. But I'm glad you brought that up because that was one thing we discussed.
Thank you.
Let me ask you a question.
Sure.
Since we got to go back and do all this work, can we charge it to the borrow pit since we have to do it because they didn't do it at the beginning? Any extra money that we have to spend, can we charge this to the borrow pit?
I don't know if the ordinance would mandate that.
Legal?
I don't know. It could be. If you want to take a crack at that one?
All of this by ordinance is supposed to be paid for based upon both the application fees and whatnot. So it's actually supposed to be revenue neutral. One of the problems we're having is it's sort of a chicken and egg problem because we can't bring in any money until we know how much we're supposed to get, but we don't know how much we're supposed to get unless we got the money to go out and find it. So we do have some in there that we can use, and that's what we're using right now. And so it's just the way the ordinance is written. And so it's supposed to be revenue neutral, however.
What year was this passed, Mr. Landry?
And the ordinance was 2012. That we're basing this on, and then we had in 2014.
So no action has been taken in 3 years?
Well, the last council did in, I think it was December of 2014, right before they left, they passed an ordinance to appoint these guys to do the auditing and the other stuff.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman, on 9/25/14, ordinance number 14-177 passed to sign contracts with 3 firms. And then on November 21st, contract was signed with Meyer Engineering.
That's correct. Yes, sir.
And so the only action taken in pursuit of this ordinance was to sign a contract, and no physical effort had been made until the new president came in and implemented the ordinance and the contract?
The new president is the only one to ever move on this. That's correct.
Well, thank you, Mr. President, for your courage to move forward. Unfortunately, you are 3 years behind the last guys and picking up the ball in your first 3 months. I appreciate that.
Yes, sir.
We give all the credit to a good counsel.
Okay. Any further comments or discussion? Mr. Lawrence.
Warren Lawrence, Myrtle Grove. Thank you, for at least starting a motion. I would question one thing is how was it chosen on where to start and what particular pits were to be looked at, and why was some pits with so much obvious violation left out the scope to start off with. I mean, some things are so simple as they don't have the proper fencing. They don't have the setback. You can see it from the road. I mean, this is so obvious that and all of a sudden, some of the worst offenders are not included in the first group. And I just question, how has this been set up? Is the engineering firm requesting not to go to certain pits? There's more than one sand pit, and a lot of this stuff is physical work just to go out and look at. And to say, you know, and I'm not blaming this current administration by far, but this was the duty of a department to do. They related that over to hiring a firm, which they didn't do. This doesn't say may, it says shall. And, you know, I'm glad we're at least moving, but I don't want the public to think that certain pits are going to be delayed and looked at. If the engineering firm has trouble looking, when I can pass and look, I can pass and see it used as a dump. I don't need to ride any further. I don't even have to go on their property to know they're in violation. And I just don't understand, you know, and the permit department is here. Some of this stuff is so obvious that, you know,
let me ask you, Mr. Lawrence, before we go too much further, what list are you talking about and who's being neglected? Because the summary that I got, they have 23 pits listed. They haven't set a priority or a list.
Yes, they have.
Where is that at?
What pits are you going to look at?
Mr. Chairman, I think what Mr. Lawrence is talking about is the list, the task order that was issued yesterday or the day before asked Myers to start looking at the 6 that are regulated under the 20.
Have you distributed that task order list to us?
I haven't, but I can get it to you.
Well, all I'm going to tell you is that Mr. Lawrence has information that we don't have. So the problem with that is that I'm looking at Mr. Lawrence's, where you coming from, and I don't have the information that he has. So, Mr. Lawrence, I want to congratulate you on getting information that I don't have and moving forward.
Well, in any event, Mr. Chairman, what Mr. Lawrence is asking about is why this 6. Well,
look, I understand exactly what he's saying.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah,
I'm sitting here in the dark, so, and I don't know if my colleagues have the information.
We've all been in the dark. It was issued yesterday. I just got it yesterday myself. I just hadn't had a chance to get it to y'all, but I will be happy to do so.
Thank
you.
I don't.
Now, yes, sir.
Now, I was going to say, the chairman may know what you're saying. I don't know what you're saying. So I want you to finish the sentence about how you prioritize. You mentioned 6 regulated, so explain to me.
Okay, this is the thing. The 2012 ordinance changed the law and the regulatory regime under which borrow pits are going to be regulated in this parish, okay? You know, we've had pits before that. So not every borrow pit in the parish is regulated by the same legal regime to the same extent. It's actually not that simple to know which ones are grandfathered in, which ones apply to the ordinance before this.
So you're saying 6 are regulated under the new ordinance?
Clearly. Okay. That we have been able to identify, so they're easy, they're the low-hanging fruit, as it were, to go after. That's
and the
right.
other 17 are non-regulated? Under the old, they're
not necessarily.
The
There's going to be, that's the whole point. We have to do a legal analysis of those borrow pits. I just got the list yesterday, okay? So now that I have the list, I can find out which ones are regulated by which ordinance and to what degree, and a lot of it depends upon the facts on the ground. Again, it's the chicken and the egg thing. We got to get some data to know some of the regulatory regimes, which one's going to apply. This is really a complicated problem. It's not simple, Mr. Lawrence, unfortunately. But I understand exactly what you mean in that we don't want to leave anybody out, and some of the more egregious ones that you mentioned are the ones that are on the list to be looked at. So I think we're going to move forward. It's not, I tell you this, as long as I'm, I guess, the chief amongst the Indians, I'm not going to allow anybody to just skate by. Now, it may take a little while to get them, but we're going to get them if they're violating the law and cheating the tax man.
Okay, let's move on.
Well, if I can finish one comment, is that some of the pits were under a different ordinance, but they still were permitted under an ordinance. It wasn't the 2012 ordinance. And they were required to renew their permits every year. And if they did not, their permit should have been revoked, and then they came back under the 2012 ordinance. If that permit was not taken out, which I could not find that information for sure. But this is why I'm saying it's not an easy task. And, it's so obvious, though, that when you can, if you know anything about it, you can ride past, and I can tell you that Myers engineers can ride past and see violations, and whether it's a pit on their list or it's a pit off their list, their job is to go and look at pits. And if they see something in violation, they should be obliged to bring that violation back, whether it's on their list or not. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if I could call Mr. Dugas to maybe give more clarity to Mr. Lawrence's remarks concerning the legal task orders that have to be performed. So if you could give us a sequence of how this came up.
Yes, sir, Mr. Cormier.
Since February 26th.
Well, the task order was signed just recently. On the 16th of April, I have it signed by the administration. We did meet on Tuesday, and we discussed with the Finance Department, with Meyer Engineers, Permits Department, Mr. Metcalf, and Ms. Val Regas, to discuss the permits that, there's 23 borrow pits, to discuss which ones we would attack first. And the easiest, quickest way for us to generate revenues was to go after the ones from 2012. And that's our goal. At this point, we have Randy. He's scheduled to go out and visit the 6 sites. We have a schedule that he's provided to us. It starts in April of 2015, and it looks like it's going to come to a conclusion around the August 11th, 2015. So we do have a game plan to go after the first 6. Now, the initial investigation is just to get the permit plans and make sure that what he can see off of just a site visit, what they're in compliance with. Once he can finalize that initial report, then we'll have a surveying team come out and go and calculate, or take their topo survey and calculate the quantity of material that's supposed to come out of the pit, as well as what's been taken out, and literally draw a line in the mud to see what is expected to come out in the future. And I'm assuming that this is going to be done on an annual basis. That way we'll know how many cubic yards or tonnage that they sold, and then how much sales tax we're supposed to be receiving, or road use tax that we're supposed to be receiving. So we do have a game plan at this point. Now, granted, the first 6, once those are done, there are 17 more that will be addressed. We've given the 23 to legal. They will tell us which ordinances apply to those pits, and if they apply to those pits, and what actions we can take as far as enforcement, if they need additional fencing, if they need the scales that y'all mentioned. At this point, I don't want to put any names out there as far as the pits that we are approaching. With the first 6, if y'all want to take that up with legal, y'all can call them, but I'm not putting anybody's business names. I was told due to sales tax concerns, we should not mention their names. We do have several that y'all already mentioned that we are addressing. But if y'all have any questions, we do have a game plan. Y'all welcome to come and meet with us. I did give a chronology of when this started. As Mr. Cormier mentioned, the original ordinance was passed in September of 2014. The contract was signed with Myers. However, the funding for that contract did not come into effect till February by this council. And then the administration signed it in March. They were given task orders in March. We started addressing how we would approach this 3-headed monster, and we finally got it last week, the task order signed. So we are proceeding.
Mr. Dugas, I have a question.
Thank you.
Right here. No, right here.
Yeah, it sounded like it's over here.
Yes, ma'am. The list that was provided, how is it that Mr. Lawrence received the names that were on the list and the council members didn't?
I haven't seen Mr. Lawrence's list to verify that that's the list we're working from.
Did you actually receive a list, or you do know?
I haven't received, but I know what the list is. I don't know.
Okay, but a citizen has the information and the council members don't. That's the point I'm trying to
He
make.
does not have the information from my office.
Okay.
Yeah. Mr. Lawrence, I defend you quite a bit, but if we're being transparent, let us know where you got your list, because we have issues with somebody working in the government.
Well, Well, then I wouldn't be getting no further information.
All right, let's move on. Do we have any comments or questions on further on this?
You need to hire Mr. Lawrence as a consultant, that's what you do.
Yes, Mr.
Barry Colligan, 31975 Highway 23, Buras. Mr. President, in the opening statements during your status report, you mentioned some things in regards to state funding and fees and taxes that may have been deferred or abolished or whatever. I would like another, so the people can be refreshed on what you said before I go further with my comment. And I hope the council and the administration will bear with me on that point.
Yes, my opening statement was to the effect that the state, and during the last administration, the previous administration is still there, has given enormous tax breaks to corporations in the state of Louisiana. And as a result of those enormous tax breaks, the burden has fallen on the actual smaller companies and actual citizens of the state. And so the state is now facing a big budget because of that. That has been stated many times in the newspapers, journals, and by other people that look at government in all facets.
Thank you, sir. You think the parish of Plaquemines' desire and need for these same fundings are not just as relevant?
If you're referring to the inventory tax, we'll lose $20 million if we don't get, if they pass.
Well, I'm talking about our local taxes. Our local taxes, sales taxes, fees on borrow pits and the like. You think they're not as
question?
Do you think they're not as important to our parish to collect those fees and sales taxes?
Well, I think we just discussed for about probably 25 minutes, in other words, the course of action that we've taken to make sure we get those.
All right, thank you, sir.
I mean, I can't, defend the other people in the past as to, or question why it wasn't done. All I can tell you is this administration is moving forward to get the progress taken care of.
Several council meetings ago, myself and Michelle Wilcox came in with a presentation and supplied several documents to the administration, legal and administration, council. One of the questions that came up during that time frame, which there were many, was the fact that the Plaquemines Dirt and Clay permit was issued under an all-field construction permit and not a borrow pit permit. They got a $1,000 fee for their permit instead of a $10,000 fee. Their permit, everywhere on it, says that it's a borrow pit. It doesn't say that it's an all-field construction permit. It just says a borrow pit. Although it does say it's a non-permitted pit. So I guess my question is, Mr. Metcalf was asked the same question by Mr. Juneau that in regards to who may have told him to change the permit. I'm not going to quote him, but I think he stated that they made me change it. So
it's my recollection for that particular pit, I never signed a permit because the legal department found them to be pre-existing non-conforming and continuously in use. So I don't believe I signed a permit for them. That's my recollection. I could check the file. And
let me say this. I would expect that the legal department investigate this issue because it's been lingering for some time now and give us a legal opinion as to why the difference from the 1,000 to the 10,000, the grandfather, non-grandfather, and resolve this issue in everyone's minds because it keeps coming back over and over and over.
my next question is, being a non-permitted, non-conforming...
Excuse me one second. Do you want us to, the legal department, to go back to the prior administrations and do it? We'll be glad to try to find out. Well, like the president said, we want to go forward. We'd be glad to try to go back and find out why there's 1,000 on one and 10,000 on another when in the past administration. I'm not sure how we're going to be able to do that, but we'd be glad to give it a try.
Well, my only comment is that if we're starting from now and not looking at the rear view mirror, then why did we hire Myers to go out and look at the holes that have been dug in the past, the agreements and the ordinances in the past? So I don't know what separates this issue from the other issues that we are trying to resolve. So the answer to that question is yes. We're looking at all of the issues to bring them up to speed and compliance with the ordinance, whether it's this issue or it's how many cubic yards or tons came out of the hole. So to separate it, I don't see the relevance of separating it.
I'm not trying to separate anything. All I'm simply asking is, it may be a very difficult task for us to go back into the minds of the old administration and the old parish attorney legal department, but we'd be glad to give it a try. We'd be more than happy to, because we want to get a handle on it just as much as you do. As a matter of fact, President Cormier is, I guess, the first one in years to actually say, let's go get it.
I'm not asking for a psychiatric evaluation of the past. I'm asking for a
Mr.
factual evaluation of what went down with the permits, whether it was 1,000 or 10,000, whether it's a legitimate permit or not, or did they require a permit? That's all I'm asking.
Well, Mr. Metcalf, by his own admission, said they told him to do that. So he himself should know who told him to do that. That permit was approved on September the 12th, 2013. I was present at the council meeting when that happened, when it all happened.
I'd be glad to get it to the legal department.
Whatever you have from the past, we obviously want to look into, but we can't look into somebody's mind in the past.
I'd be glad to do that. I think that's a very good suggestion by the chairman.
Okay, look, we're going to bring back to order here. We got one at a time.
One last question. Being non-conforming, non-permitted in any way, shape, or form in the form of a borrow permit, does this borrow pit fall under the category of sales tax? Is that exempt too on that borrow pit?
I have no idea which borrow pit you're talking about.
Plaquemines dirt and clay.
I really don't know the answer to this second, but we'll certainly find out for you.
And that permit also, I mean, that, as far to my knowledge, that pit also doesn't have a scale.
Doesn't have a what?
A scale.
Okay.
And never did that I know of.
Look, let's get back to the issue. The issue is that we're looking at everybody, all pits. They're all under the same rules except for the ordinance and the time they came into being. So when we get to sales tax, I would hope that everybody who's supposed to pay sales tax is going to pay it if they haven't already paid it.
And if they haven't, we're going to go after them.
Thank you.
On behalf of the legal department. Thank you for your information.
Any further comments or discussion on this item?
Yes, Mr. President.
Ms. Salvo.
I'm about fed up with the comments periodically being said, but what happened in the past, let it stay in the past. So why are we here? You know, if something happened, a violation was committed in the past, and it's still resurfacing itself, I think we need to address it. Why we keep having this, we trying to paint this picture that whatever happened in the past stays in the past. If
Nobody's
it's a violation
saying that,
and if it keep recurring itself and causing havoc in our administration, I mean, I have a problem with that. And then we have to point out issues. According to Mr. Joe, you have to point it out. If you point it out to me, then I'll be glad to go and research it. Well,
all I'm simply saying is none of us are clairvoyant.
Thank you. Any further comments?
Yes, I'd like to say something. I see that what I'm looking at, what happened, let's go in the past. I feel like a lot of our employees was tired. Their hands were tired, their minds were tired, everything was tired. Now, can the federal government find out who did this? They're scared, they're not doing it. We know who did it, so we don't have to sit here and hide the names. As a regular resident of Plaquemines Parish, this is why I ran for council, to try to straighten out what happened in the last 8 years. And it's going to take us a while, but we all know who was in charge and who told y'all what to do or not to do. Now that's what I'm saying. I'm saying that as a citizen and I'm saying that as a councilman. Now we cannot go back and drag him through the fires because he's gone. But I'm telling you, every employee now can feel relaxed and they can work like they should work. They don't have to be worried about a gun pointed to their head. This is what I'm saying.
Thank you. Any further comments or discussion on this item? Hearing none. Yes, Mr.
No disrespect, Michael Rodriguez. They went after Ray Nagin and got him, didn't they? No disrespect.
Oh,
they
no
can
problem.
go after him. I tried to have him recalled out of office, and I didn't push it hard enough. and I wished I would have. But yes, he can be gone after.
Okay, let's get back to borough pits. We're burying enough people. Move on to the next item, which would be Mardi Gras Pass. Councilmember Bartholomew.
I guess the pass symbols the name Mardi Gras, so I guess that's what it is, a Mardi Gras down there. You can't seem to find nothing. Everything is bon ton roulette. The water just flow, flow, flow. But the president has made contact with some people, company, and I think they're looking at it and whether or not they'll be able to put some culverts. There's also a possibility that we can put some sand, big old sandbags that we have located on the east bank, that we might be able to barge down there with a particular company, and then we can put some rocks that the Corps of Engineers gave us. Possibly we can do that in-house, and eliminate the cost. I say, but the biggest problem is to get the permit to close it. So we have to fight with the state or the Corps, whomever that's possibly objecting. And I guess the Pontchartrain Basin is another area of concern. But I don't know why there's so much concern now when the issue came up a couple of months, about 4 or 5 months ago, in a diversionary CPRA conference. State didn't want nothing to do with it. State don't have a thing to do with it. I said, well, when I get to be council, I'm going to see, we're going to shut it down. Now I'm at the council seat position to do that. Now there's objections. So now we just have to get with our president and the legal team and see how we can get this thing to be closed. And we're constantly working on it. And I know the president himself made different contacts throughout, contact with different people throughout the area concerning that. And we also have met with the landowner, not met, but conversate and receive assurance from the landowners that they want to close it as well. So I don't know, Mr. President, do you have anything else you'd like to add?
Yes, Councilman Bartholomew, of course, we have to be careful not to refer to it as a pass, because then it becomes a navigation. So it's Mardi Gras washout. And
well, what I pass is Mardi Gras passing. You know the parade passing, Mardi Gras pass by. That's what I'm reference to. Not an open area where water constantly flow. The analogy was the Mardi Gras, the parade, the floats, the fishing, and all that stuff.
Right, we did see a few beads when we went out there.
Yeah, we did. There quite a few down there.
But I spoke with Mr. Mayor, with the state, and the latest update on that is Sundowner requested 3 culverts, and they want Sundowner's engineering firm that they had hired or are working with to go back and look to see if they need more culverts, from 3 to 4, possibly more. And they're waiting for Sundowner to get that information from their engineering group that's working with them. And then after that, they'll make a decision as to whether or not they will approve that particular closing or culverts in that crevasse in that area. So that's where we stand with it.
Any further comments on Mardi Gras Pass? Yes, sir. Mr. Raggis. Good.
No, what I'd like to say actually is that this is a crevasse on a system that was designed to control the salinity in the Point Lash area for the oyster fishermen. You know, why are we talking about putting culverts on the side of it? There are 3 gated culverts there, and they control the water flow. If you put culverts, you're not addressing the issue or the process that was originally intended for the system. So I understand what you're dealing with. I spoke to the, I'm not going to mention his name, but what his name was, Mr. McGuire, with Elan Sundowner, and they're actually in the process of selling the potash field, as far as from what they tell me on the phone. So they're not in a big hurry to deal with this. They can spend money. And it should be constructed, you know, reconstructed back to the original intent. So the culvert thing is just it's going to let the water go through, and it's going to wipe out all the oysters. And, I mean, is it possible for us or somebody, Mr. Bartholomew, to speak directly with Sundowner Eland and say, what is your intent? Are you intending on fulfilling this permit, or are you just, or it's just there? I'm not sure what y'all are saying, but it's a crevasse, and it's going around this structure that was built to help the oystermen, and it's wiping them out. So it's hard for me to understand the process that y'all are looking at here and not really addressing the true intent that this structure was built by the Wildlife and Fisheries. The state of Louisiana built this. They dug the canal, and that's, I can get the guy. I got an email from the guy telling y'all, go ahead and plug the thing off, They own half of the potash field, the people who owns the land where the canal was dug by the Wildlife and Fisheries, okayed by the parish and the state. Now, there's a problem to get the permit now to block it off. And, I know there's different people there and there's different people here, but there should be a way, like y'all are trying to figure out, not to deal with issues of the past. It's something that y'all took on your shoulders when when y'all asked to be voted in here. So, good luck.
Thank you. Any further comments on Mardi Gras Pass?
Yes, further comments, Mr. Ragus, I agree with you, it is a crevasse. The original stake that put the dugout in is on state property, or was on state property. The crevasse is not on state property, it's on private property, Haspel and Davis. And what Mr. Mayor stated was the fact that if we block it off, they're of the opinion that there will be another crevasse either south or north of it with the river. Now, whether or not we agree with that, I'm just giving you that information as to what they're telling us.
Okay, the canal was dug in the center of a 5-acre parcel, and it's right in the middle of Haspel and Davis. And where it's going around is still in Haspel and Davis's land. There was actually part of a cemetery right there too. And the whole Bohemia Spillway that is open there is just a big gap where we're getting wiped out through that. The levee. What the complicated thing is that when the Wildlife and Fisheries put the facility in there, it was controlled by the Orleans Levee Board. Okay, so that makes it, so Haspel and Davis had no say-so then. And then in 1889, when the land was given back to Haspel and Davis, they inherited the structure, and it's right in the middle of the land. So I went out there and looked at it, and the levee is, part of the levee is still in the Bohemia Spillway. It was bulldozed from Bilamuck to Point Ash in the 1920s to make the spillway. And why, anyway, I don't understand why the Southeast Louisiana Protection Authority even has anything to do with that. It's not a spillway. It's all private land. And, is there a way to deal with this legally and to do it the right way, It feeds, I mean, that crevasse right there is going to backflow for the next hurricane that comes from the water comes from Breton Sound. If Plaquemines Parish gets wiped out again, we're going to be uninhabitable, okay? So I know I speak a lot about the East Bank levees. Well, that's our only savior. We're up against the wall. July the 1st is the next game, okay? It's the next game. We could lose it this year. And we can't worry about, dealing with trying to, dig Bocce Squelette Pass to try to get ahead of Fouchon. Fouchon don't flood, okay? we flood because all the storm builds up in that corner. And you're not gonna beat the dollar fight with Fouchon. They got too many big bucks. So any money that you take from that B2 and put it in that stretch in Port Lahash or below Ostrika, you're gonna help prevent Plaquemines Parish from being an uninhabitable place. And it can happen this year. So whether you're the new team or the old team, that's the truth, okay? That's the way it is. We got it, every time we got it from over there. And I know they're putting walls up on the levee and everything and hurrying up, but every little bitty foot that y'all add over there is helping water from coming in this building. Because, that's the way it is. I mean, I think all of y'all realize that.
Yes, sir, we do. We understand.
Okay.
We thank you very much. Any further comments or discussion on the item? Hear none. Machine ain't. We're going to F.
Discussion on Mary Seabird property, Councilmember Bartholomew.
Councilmember Bartholomew. Councilmember Bartholomew?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Mary Seabird. My family has been a resident of this parish for 5 generations. Most probably I'm the oldest one in this building anyway. But I would like to ask the council, I went to the permit office to get some permits to repair my bar that was damaged during Hurricane Isaac. I was informed that my property was rezoned from commercial to residential. I didn't know this until I was seeking permits to repair. Well, to apply for a permit to rezone, I was informed it would be $800, and then they don't know if it would even pass. I would like to have that permit fee waived because it's unfair. You can just rezone a piece of property that's have a bar on it for 50 years and not even notify the owner of the property, which I am. I don't think that's fair. So I respectfully ask you to please waive that $800 fee to X for it to be rezoned. Gentlemen, ladies, what's your opinion on that?
I don't have any opinion on it now until I hear all of the facts. And we haven't heard what the permit department or the zoning board has to say about that. Maybe there's an explanation, maybe there's not. Anybody have any idea how the property got rezoned and without her knowledge? And
Mr. President, from my understanding, it was a bar that existed prior to zoning even came into play. And then there was the overlay for the whole parish of the zoning. Hurricane Isaac came, and from my understanding, the bar was destroyed, or you might say dilapidated now. She came into the permit office or into the zoning department in 2014 trying to renew her business or regain the status for the business. Well, as you know, 6 months is the limit for non-conforming. So then that's what happened with the rezone. But instead, for the hardship situation, Councilman Griffin said, well, let's try to hold back off the rezone because it is expensive. Let's put forth a business occupancy to see if the council can grant, status for the reopening of the bar. Well, the citizens and all were up in arms. They kept calling Mr. Griffin's office, and he withdrew it. So that's where we stand now.
Well, let me say this. I think that you should try to work out something with the administration. As far as anything before us today, there's nothing on the table for us to act on or try to make a decision on. And if you would get with the administration and see where you legally stand and go from there, and perhaps something will come before us for a rezoning in the future. But there's nothing for us to act on, to waive anything, to do any action for you other than hear your issue.
I also have one more thing to say. I also know that it was on the health department's list for being condemned because of the grasses, and you were actually able to see through the building. The walls and all are practically gone on one whole side. You have no wall, and then it's just dilapidated.
It does want to be, I have a gentleman who wants to repair it, all right? I'm giving him 3 years free rent. I don't know, just to
Right.
repair it. And he wants to, and I really, this bar has been like Cheers. It's a family bar, everybody knows your names. But anyway, if we trying to get the East Bank to come back, and everyone just seems to be trying to stop hers. I really think that we should waive this $800, because even if I pay the $800, doesn't mean y'all gonna approve it. Then where do I stand? I mean, it's ridiculous. My son, because he was washed out with Isaac because of an inadequate levy, which we all know, he had to buy land in St. Bernard to build a home. And it was commercial, and guess what? They rezoned it to that he didn't have to pay a penny. Now, he's never lived in St. Bernard. They didn't charge him to rezone it. But here, the parish that I said 5 generations we've been here are going to charge me $800 just to apply for rezoning, which it should not have been changed in the beginning. No, I didn't repair the bar because I was afraid with the levies, and I couldn't get anyone to rent it. But now I have someone who wants to rent the bar. I'm on a fixed income. I need my money back. As far as the people calling, and they did a petition, I have this petition right here with their names. Majority of them don't even live in the parish. How can they sign a petition? This petition should be void. Another thing, because the church came way after, 15 years after I built the bar. They objected. I came to the council, it was police jury then, and I asked them to grandfather me in or not to give them a permit to build the church. I'm not against religion, but if you're going to come build next to me and then object, no, that's not right. They grandfathered me in for life. All right, Hurricane Isaac came. I lost my paperwork, but I'm sure if they change, they can check it and see the year the bar was built. That's when I came. The bar was built on 19. I have it.
You have something that says that you were grandfathered in for life?
I had the grandfather paper, but I lost my home.
What kind of paper was it? Was it written on, was it a document from the government, or was it something written on?
It was a document from the police jury, yeah, stating that it would be always, well, which proves it, because over the years, about twice now, the church has tried to object it, and every time I came, they would see my grandfather papers. Now, as I said, over 50 years, everyone has been granted permits, which proves that I had a grandfather paper, or they wouldn't have approved permits for the people to open a bar.
Well, let me suggest that you go and work with the administration to try to find something in the record, if there's in the record. We will have the secretary search the record and see if she can find anything, because we're not going to solve anything here today, because there's nothing before us today.
Yeah, well, this was in 1981 when the bar opened. I'm sorry, when the church opened. I built my bar in 1965, so it had to be 1981 when I came and applied to have it grandfathered in. That's the year it should be. So someone can find the records of that paper that it was grandfathered in? Anyone?
We will look. We will look.
You will look?
We will look. The secretary will search the files from the council. You can ask the administration to work with you through the permit department and see what you can come up with.
And I would like them to recheck this petition.
Are they registered voters? Do they
They're
live?
not even in the parish.
That doesn't mean they're not registered voters.
Yeah, I mean, they're not even residents. They go to the church. They go to St. Andrew's Church. But the majority of them aren't. Should be barred. It is ridiculous, this petition, not to have the bar to open. This shouldn't carry any kind of weight whatsoever. Well, all right, so where do we stand? They're going to check to see for the grandfather?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, and what about the waiving the permit fee?
There's nothing before us to waive a permit fee. There is only an issue of right now trying to establish what your status is.
Status of what now?
The status of whether or not you were grandfathered in, whether or not you had a permit, and where we go from here. If the zoning was done, and how it was done.
Well, even if I wasn't grandfathered in, I still would like it to go back to commercial, because maybe I could sell the property and not for a church, for anything, I'm sorry, not for a bar, because our property values, you know, since the storm, has plummeted.
Yes, ma'am.
My children's inheritance is non-existent anymore. And so something has to be done. I think I should be waived that $800 fee.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Let's
Yes,
see what
ma'am.
can be done.
Thank you. Thank you, John. Any further discussion on this item? Hearing none, we will move to item G.
Discussion and update regarding drainage issues and public requests. Councilmember Byrd.
Yes, I'd like to have the Director of Operations address a few public requests that I have in my district, in District 6. Since I've been in office for roughly 4 months, I have 13 public requests in, 9 of which are related to drainage. And I think of those 9, 2 have been addressed by Mr. Dugas. And I'd just like to know what the process is for following up on public requests, as we can't get any information in my office, and my secretary continues to get calls on a daily basis. And the answers we're getting, I don't believe, are what we should be telling the public. And I'd just like to ask the director for some information regarding those requests.
Mr. Burt, we're working as fast as we can with the personnel we have. We are in each councilman district doing a little bit at a time. If I haven't gotten to you, you will be gotten. I will be there sooner or later. I'm going with the machinery we have and the people we have, and we are actually trying to pick the worst ones out. I've been in like all last week. I was on Bayou Road. They haven't had anything done up there in 8 years, and I've redone all those ditches that way. I've been in Councilman Bartholomew's district, and I did more ditches over there in the last 3 months or 2 months than he's had in 4 years. He can verify it. Miss Audrey, I've been in Miss Audrey's district a little at a time, as much as I can. Everybody's got a little bit. You can't get it all what I got when the people I have, but I'll be in your area as soon as I can get there. I got all your complaints. They're on my desk, separated in districts. And believe me, we're going to get there.
So there's twofold here. We're talking equipment and we're talking about inspection. And, nobody's even going out and look at these properties. We're not even getting any feedback to provide information back to the residents that are calling complaining. And I'd just like to point this out real quick. I'd like to commend Mr. Terrio for his responses. This is one of his documents that he actually provides back to the council on, on public request. All we're asking is some feedback, whether it's we can't do it, we can do it. We're going to be out there in 2 weeks, 3 weeks. We don't have the equipment. We don't have personnel. I'm tired of getting phone calls.
I can give you approximately time, but I can't give you the date that I'm coming, because I'm going. As what we got, we are working. And I'm rolling, believe me, we'll get more ditches dug done than you had in a long time. But if your complaint came in my office, somebody went down there and looked at it, and believe me, it's numbered to go down in your district.
I would have to disagree with that, but I would just respectfully ask that we get some updates.
Now, I can send you updates. You're just going to get updates that I'm coming.
Something's got to happen, because I'm tired of getting the phone calls in my office.
I second that, Mr. Byrd. I have that same problem. I have that same problem, and I emailed Mr. Stanley about it. I think we need some kind of process, and we've sent requests to Mr. Giles, and we've been responding. No offense to you, and I know you work the whole parish, but the residents call us, and we don't have any answers to give them.
If the requests come in, if you want me to send you back a note, I can send you back a note.
Well, it's just we need something to be able to tell our constituents, a follow-up. We've turned it in. All we can say is we've turned it over, and that's about it.
I could, not to be funny or nothing, I don't know if I should say this or not.
Well, I'm just saying, we're just asking for some kind of...
We don't have the machinery to do what we did in the past. And believe me, the guys are working, they're going as fast as they can. No,
Mr.
Wallace, all I could tell you.
Mr. Wallace, I think I concur with the two previous speakers, but I think what we're saying is maybe just a generic form from the administration for all 3 of the directors, and whenever a request come in, that you could just respond back to the council offices and let them know that you know, this is how we're going to proceed. But what we're saying is, we don't have a response to our constituents. You know, we send the request to your office, 2 weeks pass, 3 weeks pass, maybe a month pass, and I realize that you have the entire parish to address. But we're asking you to look at it from our perspective. We don't have a recourse.
I can do that.
We don't have a recourse. Just something in writing, tell us where the public
status of the
request
project.
I can do that, and I can answer all that in one big question. Give me $1,200,000, I'll have your ditches dug. I'm serious as a heart attack, but I don't have the machinery.
Okay,
Have one, want to go? Go ahead.
Councilman Burke? Councilman Bartholomew?
Yes. We have 30-plus miles. I think that's the largest district in Plaquemines Parish. 31, 52? 38,000 feet, miles. 38 miles of highway. And that's the biggest district in Plaquemines Parish. And if you think he's going to dig about 4 or 5 ditches and think you made a dent, you haven't. But just like Mr. Wallace said, his problem is he don't have the workforce, nor does he have the equipment. And it doesn't matter what we do. All they're going to do is delay the projects anyway because he just don't have the manpower and machinery to do it. So if we're that adamant about it and very concerned and want to make a dent in the problem, give him the $1 million out of bond indebtedness, get the stuff done. If he don't do it, get him out.
Complete. Anybody else have comments on this?
Yeah, I just have one comment. It's, Ms. Stanford, maybe you can answer this question. I think you might know where I'm going with it. The New World system, is that a possibility that we could implement that instead of doing requests the way we do them now, which is, I think, pretty archaic, to maybe implement New World where we generate a request to the administration and then we can track that request through that system as opposed to...
Well, the system we have now is set up to be a financial system. I do know that I've worked in other systems that have like a work order system. But again, I think that would cost money to buy the software and we have no money. I mean, I can help develop some kind of Excel spreadsheet and have a shared document that, you know, everybody could go into that same folder and see the status. We do that in purchasing every day. We can get with IT and do something like that, but as far as New World, I don't think that's the option.
I'm looking at Mr. Metcalf. Maybe he has a comment that maybe you guys do this in permitting, or...
Well, we currently have a pretty well-developed permitting system that's run by basically the servers with South Central Regional Planning and Development, but it can be augmented and grown into different areas of government to service different areas, and it's growing all the time. The program is growing to meet the needs of different departments and different areas of government. I could check into that for you.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah, I do think we have some software available to us, probably at a minimal cost, at a cost of any cost, just to, if we submit a request in that system, in that software system, and the administration gets it and approves it, that whoever put it in or whoever has administrative rights to see it can track it. And instead of continuously asking the directors, hey, where you're at on the project, we can go in and look at it and see where they're at on the project. I mean,
I'd be happy to check it for you, Councilman.
Thank you, I really appreciate it. So maybe that's a start there, Mr. Cormier.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we would advocate under the circumstances that we will ask you to direct some of these to the Director of Administration so that he can help monitor your request. And as Ms. Salvant referred to earlier in the meeting, you know, I'm just wondering, you know, these people, I'd like to find out, I mean, it seemed like they were tongue-tied for the last 8 years. I'd like to find out how many requests the ditches were turned in, if you can provide us with that, you know, information, so that we could see how many ditches were denied or were not worked on in the last 8 years. Because you know, I appreciate the people now having the confidence in our administration that we're moving forward and trying to get these ditches done as soon as possible. But I would like to get that information and direct it to the Director of Administration so we can expedite your wishes.
Where would you expect to get that information?
Well, it seemed like the council members would have that on file from the previous council members in their office.
Yes, sir, I have requested, and I know how many were...
Mr. Edgecombe, the people that have been incumbents would have that on file.
So obviously, the request was submitted to the administration doesn't have them in a file somewhere over
There
there?
had to be a transition on their part also.
It should be in the council member's office of the outgoing, for the incoming.
Yeah, it should be in offices
Right.
with the outgoing. And again, we just appreciate that so we can try to maybe help out the people who've been waiting the longest so we can move and help each council member here.
Well, this is a circle that I see.
I really don't see the circle.
Well, it's
Actually,
just
we're giving
that
you a monitor, the Director of Administration, to try and improve the communications with two instead of one.
No, I understand that.
But we have
First of all,
67 men previously, before the last 8 years. I know when I was in the council, they had 67 people in that department. Now we're down to 27. So you can do the math yourself. In other words, they really don't have the manpower.
Right, and I understand that takes time, Mr. President. We're just asking for some feedback. You know, yeah, we received your complaint. You know, we'll work on it as fast as we can, and in a week, let us know and update where you are. Maybe it's number 10 on the list or number 15 on the list. Because the residents are calling us, and they're just thinking that nothing's being done. And I understand manpower is an issue, and I know you're doing the best that you can. But it's just, we would like some kind of tracking process to let us know that the update, the status of it. Because, you know, some of us have turned in stuff, you know, a couple of months. And like you said, you don't have the manpower and the equipment, but just, you know, just give us an update is all we're asking.
Yeah, and our Director of Administration will help to monitor that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you all.
Mr. Chair, one thing right quick.
Yes, sir.
On the same note, but actually this is referred to Mr. Dugas. Would you think it'd be a good idea for engineering to, I guess, step up to the plate and start checking the slopes of some of these ditches? Reason why I'm saying that, in my district down the road, and I see it in the newer district, they come in, clean the ditches out, and now they won't drain because they're too low, they're below the culvert.
Mr. Edgecombe, if you give me the addresses for the ditches, we'll be glad to send a survey crew to check it.
Ooh. Okay.
That's a loaded.
I think Mr. Metcalf may have a solution to it, you know, and I would urge Mr. Terrio to maybe try to find a body that we can lend to Mr. Metcalf, Mr. Mitra's offices, and kind of help out to do that, because it is a serious issue. I think he has a potential solution to it with a software program that they currently utilize. So if you guys can afford to throw a body over there to help him out, maybe a start. All right, excellent, thanks.
Okay, and I just want to add to it, along those lines, regarding blight in the Port Salford area. There's the problem that I'm being faced with. I make a request to your office, Mr. Terra. The code enforcement go out, they cite the property, they contact the property owner. The property is clean. 3 months later, the property overgrown again. We have to readdress that same problem. Is there something in place that the code enforcer continue to follow up on this request? But I'm finding myself continually requesting the same property.
Yeah, Councilmember Burke has scheduled a meeting next week with Health Department, myself, whoever wants to be involved. He has come up with a plan where we can utilize the Justice of the Peace and the constable. Once the property has been inspected, the property owner has been notified, no action is taken, we turn it over to the Justice of the Peace, they cite them, they hold a little court, and they fine them. Right now, we got the mechanism, but there's no follow-up, there's no action taken.
Absolutely.
So hopefully after our meeting next week, you may have something else to share, Councilman.
Yeah, I'll address that as soon as we close out the drainage issue. I'll address that.
Okay, you're going to come back to it?
Yeah, next item.
Okay.
Are we completed with the drainage issues? If we are, we'll move to that item which we were just talking about, item I.
Discussion on litter ordinance. Councilmember Byrd.
I think everybody's pretty much aware that we have an ongoing litter issue in the parish, not only from litter, but to illegal dumping. We have some pretty aggressive litter ordinances on the books. It's just, you know, prior government has never actually taken the initiative to enforce those ordinances. So I've engaged Mr. Terrio, Mr. Raymond Ferrer. I've talked to a few of the JPs and constables, and as much as even talking to the DA and the sheriff's office. And we're going to set a meeting up, I believe, on May 7th to kick this thing off, to really dive into what we need to do to clean the parish. The JPs and constables actually have parish-wide jurisdiction over litter control. They can write tickets or citations from Bellchase to Venice, from Braithwaite to West Point, East Point, Lahash, and we just got to engage them, give them some additional tools, and tools meaning we got to give them a courthouse that they can conduct litter court in on a monthly basis. But to your question, Ms. Audrey, we are going to address the blight issue as well, and I think based on the meeting we had, what we're going to do next week, we should be able to address those issues. And I would like my colleagues to also support some of these initiatives, but it all boils down to getting the JPs and constables who are elected officials. That's their jobs to enforce these ordinances. These ordinances are on the books, and we just got to make sure that we adhere to them and get the parish cleaned back up. But it's definitely an issue, and we need to address it. And anybody has questions relative to litter, I'll try to answer any questions.
I just have one comment. I would just request that you allow me to be a part of this meeting, because I would like to see some ordinance or some legislation put forth to help clean up the Port South area.
Absolutely. And at Mr. Bartholomew's request, what we'd like to do is have the initial meeting, and then it's not gonna change overnight. We know that. I think through some communication, whether through social media, publications, most importantly having some town hall meetings. But we need to engage the residents as well, in order to make this work. We're not going to be able to start fining people for dumping on side of the road, which is actually illegal, by the way. But it's going to take a course of town hall meetings, et cetera, to make this work. So I'd like everybody's support on that. And, for the record, you'll be seeing some things come out, hopefully, in the next few weeks. That's all,
Mr. President?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I'd spoken to Ray Ferrer to come forward and give us some input on this litter ordinance. Appreciate him coming.
Ray Ferrer with the Health Department, and Councilwoman Salvant, I understand where you're coming from in terms with a lot of the blighted property that we receive. That the concern is if we receive a complaint, we inspect it, we abate it, or if the owner comes in and abates the property themselves, we close it out. And next few months, someone or same property gets overgrown or continues to have junk on it. Basically, what I'm asking for is from administration or with legal to determine whether or not that requires a policy change. Because right now, everything has to be in writing. So if there's a new complaint that comes in, we have to record it. So currently, what we're doing is we make an inspection, we close it out, and we basically don't act on it until we get something else on that same piece of property in writing. So that's something that I assume would have to be discussed in the next few weeks.
I'm off of talking about that right now, because when people call me and they call you, a lady got bit by a snake yesterday, she's told to call me so I can make a request to you.
Right.
I would like to know what ordinance that is so I can repeal it. Do you have a number?
No, it's not an ordinance.
What rule is it, or what law is it, so I can change it?
It's always been policy.
Policy?
Yep.
Then I would like the administration to give you a directive right now that you will accept complaints over the telephone from a constituent without having to go through any one of us. Well, at least me. I won't speak for them. So I would appreciate it if you would give that directive to him today, so the next time someone calls me, they won't say that we couldn't give the complaint to the health department because we have to call you first.
Yeah, those complaints are recorded.
Can we get that amen or something over there?
Yeah, we'll be glad to check that out with legal and check out the policies and so forth to make sure that we don't make any mistakes. And that's why I called Mr. Farrar here, so he could give you detailed information on how we could make policy changes and so forth.
Well, if it's not written in policy, I would hope that we could get the administration to give you a directive to accept those calls. If we can't get it today, maybe tomorrow.
Yeah, those complaints are recorded on a public request form.
I know.
And they have to be regenerated each time we get a complaint.
Exactly. So we want to cut to the chase and let you take the complaint. So now you'll take the complaint? You heard the administration? Or you never heard it thoroughly enough?
Not thoroughly enough, no, I'm sorry.
Thoroughly enough. Can somebody give him a directive?
Mr. Chairman, I think the reason we initiated that is so that the council members be aware of what complaint came in from that district. That was the only reason.
I understand.
But if you want to change it, we'll accept them.
I tell you, we can change it to this. When you get a complaint, you just send me a copy instead of me sending you a copy. How's that?
That was just so you inform us to what's going on in your district.
Right, so we all on the same page. When you get a complaint, you can just send me a copy or anybody else that makes a complaint without having me having to call you or get somebody to make a complaint to you.
Sure, and we'll act on it regardless.
Good, thank you. So now we're on the same page?
Real quick, just to follow up on the blight issue, in the litter ordinances, there's first offense, $500, second offense, $1,000. I think it could probably be policy to also add blight into that as well. If you're a first offender, it's X dollars, and if you're a repeat offender, it just can follow the suit on those litter ordinances as well. And then ultimately,
Any further discussion on?
Blight property? Yeah, I have one.
Mr. Badalamy.
I don't know, there's an old house side the highway up in Delcor. Been sitting there since Isaac. And there's a lot of rats, a lot of snakes. Even got this sign, Home of the Rats. Still sitting there. So I don't know. I mean, I brought every which way there is. I don't know. You ever got a paperwork on that?
No, sir.
You never saw that?
Not yet, sir.
You ain't never saw that?
I may have, no, not the paperwork.
Oh, man. You try to catch the Point Hedge Ferry. Catch the Bell-Chase Ferry going up. You're going to see it when you get to Delco area. Right. But it's been there a while. I'm just kidding, but it's been there a while. And everybody said we're going to do something, but we never did anything about it. And it's stopped a lot of people going to Reverend Giles Church. When they see that big old pile of debris, they turn around, come back to Point Hedge. So please help Reverend Giles get his parishioners back, see if we can get rid of that trash up there, that old house.
Sure will.
All right. Any further comments on the? Yes, Mr. Henry.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with the litter, but I got a problem with the blight. This parish is prone to hurricanes, and after hurricanes, they get destroyed. So I don't want to see nobody trash on somebody's property because it's blighted because of Mother Nature. So when we do this blight thing, I don't want to see nobody lose their property because I can afford to get it done, you know what I'm saying? So I like to have some legal technicalities about the blight deal because I don't want to see anybody lose their property over something they have no control over, and they'll have no money to recuperate the property, okay? So when we do the blight thing, I want some legal things really settled in this deal.
Thank you. Any further comments on the litter ordinances? None? We'll move to the approval of the minutes. Do I have a motion to accept the minutes from the April 9, 2015 meeting?
Offer.
Councilman Badalamy offers his there, second. Second by Councilman Juneau. And the machine is open. Any discussion? Hear none? And the minutes are adopted 9-0. Earlier in the meeting, we had deferred the executive session. At this time, I would ask that the administration just forward the council members a copy of the lawsuit, and we can discuss it at the next meeting. Any objection to that? Thank you. We'll defer that item. Is there any further business to come before the Plaquemines Parish Council today? Hearing none, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Offer.
Offer by Councilman Bartholomew. Second. Second by Councilmember Salvant. Machine is open. Two more votes. We need two more people to vote. And the meeting is adjourned at 3:49.
Ken, hold up.